What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 152 are open. Joining me this week is none other than Brendan Tam. How you going, dude? Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me, and it's great to be here. And I must say, the directions you gave me to the house were very good. I didn't get too lost, and I'm safely in the house now. So it's good news.
So you've come over the border from Victoria. So we are sort of isolating in different rooms, and we're using one of those like string phones just with cans to sort of talk to one another. And the audio quality is actually quite good for little cans. What we're using, like, you know, kids' tree houses and that. Surprisingly.
Yeah, there's a science to it, and you can't dispute it. It works perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's everything going in your part of the world, in Victoria at the moment?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. Thankfully, I'm in country Victoria, so it's not much different than where you are. Probably. If I was in Melbourne, it'd be a bigger deal. Yeah,
because I was wondering like whether it's sort of like the effects sort of outreaching. Like far outside of Melbourne or not at the moment, but yeah, good to hear that everything's going all right so far.
Yeah, touch wood and it seems that the numbers are declining, so hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess over the last week or so, just looking at iTunes reviews, haven't got any new iTunes reviews, but if anyone would like to leave some, you're more than welcome to go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review on there to help out the show. And we've been keeping in the Australian charts, in the Denmark charts, so thank you to Australia and Denmark for keeping us in the charts. Very exciting stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You really are one of the top Nintendo Danish podcasts, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you, Denmark.
It reminds me of in the 80s when you had those rock bands that no one quite liked, but they became big in Japan. But you're big in Denmark.
Yeah, no one likes us, but the Danish people have become to like us. So, Brendan, in case people don't know who you are, they haven't listened to Blowing Cartridges, they weren't a part of Another Castle a few years ago. I guess what's the elevator pitch to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a passionate gamer. I've been involved in online gaming communities for the last probably 15 years, and especially in the last 6 years, I started in Another Castle as a news editor and reviewer there, was on a podcast called Another Podcastle for a few years. I met Drew through that website. He did I think we talked him into doing a review once. He was on the podcast. After that, there was another website called Heroes of Play that never quite got huge, but we did a few reviews. We covered PAX Australia. There's YouTube videos up. There was a podcast for that. And the past few years, I've been a bit dormant in, I guess, creative endeavors for video games. But at the start of July, myself and another friend of mine, Zach, we decided to start a podcast called Blowing Cartridges. And it's really a video game podcast where we want to each fortnight spend about an hour and a half really diving into a particular issue around gaming. So our latest episode, which went live on Monday night, is about, why we game and why gaming is compelling and a compelling hobby for us and why we've gamed all our lives. So it was a really good discussion to have. And I guess it's really, and I must say that it's through Drew and Bryce and their podcast that it really motivated me to give it a try and start my own podcast, because I remember talking to Drew not long after he started his podcast. I think it was PAX. Would have been 2017 at around the time Mario Odyssey came out. And I think you were on about episode 10 or episode 8 or around there, and you were really enjoying it at that point. And it really that's when the gears started turning of, maybe I should think about starting one as well.
Yeah. And like it was I've even got you to thank for, getting into this, because back when Another Castle, you guys were doing another podcastle. I remember I got the chance to join you guys on that show, and I was just like a huge podcast fan, listened to heaps myself, And having the opportunity to actually go on and just talk with you guys and be on a podcast was really exciting to me. And it was like sort of one of the things that gave me a bit of a taste for doing this myself. So, and seeing you guys start up your new show, Blowing Cartridges, I'm like, yes, it's really awesome to see.
It's definitely a bug that once you catch it, it's hard to get rid of it.
Yeah, for sure. So I finished episode 2 today, and it was really great, man. It's really cool that listening to just sitting down and getting real deep and dirty into a certain gaming topic.
I'm glad to hear. Glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully we get you on sometime soon, and we can dive in together into that mud and dirt.
Yeah. There was one thing Zach said on the show on episode 2, where it's just like that he doesn't really like get people that I guess aren't into gaming or whatever, like some of his friends that dropped out. And I thought that was pretty funny because I'm like, I was thinking like a similar thing. Like I've been into gaming my whole life, so people that have fallen out, it's kind of like, oh, why? And it makes it really does make you think about like the psychology of like why people stay gaming and why some people might drop out and all that stuff.
Well, exactly. And it's something that we've all experienced, which we thought it would be a good topic because I definitely have friends that's happened to. And you sort of game with them for a majority of your life, and then they start dropping off and you become more passionate and you think, oh, hang on, you were interested in this last Zelda game. Why aren't you interested in the new one? Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Get hyped.
I guess there's like so many aspects. There's like, you make a new friend and they're into something else, so you drop out, or, you're into girls or whatever you're into at that time, and you sort of lose interest. So maybe that speaks to us how just obsessed we are with some of these games coming out.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
As I like to say, I think we're all very special people in our own ways.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, I just remember always looking forward to a release date, which I don't know how healthy or whatever that is, because you're sort of just like almost wishing away your life, just like, oh, I can't wait for this game. It's like 3 months away. Oh, I wish it was here right now, type of thing. I remember that with Mario Kart Wii especially. I was like so amped for that game to come out. So I think I was like waiting for that game since the start of the year until May that year. So that's like 5 months where I'm just like excited about it every single day.
I remember that even with the 3DS launch. I remember pre-ordering it at Dick Smith had a really good deal.
Oh, yes, I got that
pre-ordered
too, man. Yeah.
it there. And it was great. I think it was sort of nearly at the price that it eventually got price dropped to, and you got a game as well. Like, really good deal. But I remember pre-ordering that and sort of counting down to when it would release, even though I was like, well, there's not really any games coming out for this. So why am I excited for it? But
yeah, I was so pumped for it, but like the only game I played on release day was Rayman 3D. Like that was it. Like there wasn't any like exciting launch title. There wasn't even like Ocarina of Time remake. That was still 4 months later. So yeah.
Oh, what a great launch! And it's going to be great to be able to talk about launch lineup soon when the Xbox Series X and PS5 ones are announced. I think it's going to be a good conversation to be able to relive all the great launches and the not so great launches.
Yeah, Xbox Series X with their biggest launch library ever, which includes Assassin's Creed 2 and every single Xbox 360 game, putting their marketing spin on it.
Original Xbox games as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sweet. That's not really a launch lineup necessarily, but it's good. It's good backwards compatibility. Good on you, Microsoft.
Yep. Congratulations for your great PR in marketing.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Tam, have you been playing much over the last week or so?
I've mainly been playing Paper Mario Origami King, which you and Bryce talked briefly about your last episode, and I've really been enjoying that.
Yeah. How do you feel like... You actually brought up Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on episode 2 of Blowing Cartridges, and you said that was one of your favorite games, even though you said you didn't finish it. Did you say you didn't finish it, or you didn't finish it 2 years later?
Zach eventually finished it. I actually never finished that game. I still have a save file on the final boss. It's something I've always wanted to go back and do, but it's, as we talked about in that episode, it's hard to get the motivation to go back to a game once you've, I guess, dropped it and moved on to another one.
Yeah, that's like the story of my life. I like barely go back to anything. Even though like I'm like, I really love this game. I really should go back and finish it. But so what are you liking about this one?
I'm just adoring the writing is hilarious. I think, and the way they sort of make fun of their playing base, which they've always done in Paper Mario, is great. Like how it's not really a spoiler, but one of the motivations of the boss is that the main antagonist of the game is that he hates toads, and one of the major criticisms of Sticker Star and Color Splash was, there's too many damn toads in this game. There's no unique characters like the original game in Thousand Year Door. So it seems like intelligent systems are just knuckled down and doubled down and are like, well, you hate toads? Well, so does the antagonist of this game. He also hates toads.
Yeah. I like that actually collecting toads actually has some in-game use as well, like in the battle system where they're in the grandstands and you can call on them with coins to sort of help do damage and heal up health and all that type of thing. So it's actually like gives you a reason to want to go and get them, which is cool.
Well, exactly. It's not just I guess a MacGuffin or a collectible like in your collectathon games. They actually have a purpose to your playthrough, which is really good. And I guess you can't talk about Origami King without mentioning the soundtrack. That soundtrack is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, the battle theme, like especially like it makes you want to turn up the volume each time you go into a battle, even if you like have it down a fair bit, which is a great testament to how good it is.
Exactly. And just every new area you go to, as soon as you enter it, you want to turn up that volume and just listen to the area theme for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So how far are you in the game? Have you sort of played much, or are you like near the start?
I'm still relatively near the start, sort of about 3/4 of the way through the second ribbon. So still early days, but I guess I think I have a more or less a good feel of what the game is like and its pros and cons. So and I'm definitely compelled to keep on playing. I do want to see this one to the end, I think.
Yeah, I do too. Bryce actually, he mentioned the other day, I don't know exactly how long it is, but he mentioned it's anywhere from 35 to 40 hours. I'm like, like that's longer than I thought it was going to be. And it seems that seems like, I don't know, is that a little bit too long for this type of experience? I'm not sure, but got to keep playing.
Yeah, I think how long to beat's at about 24 to 40 hours. So that sounds about right. But I guess for me, having just finished Xenoblade Chronicle, last game I played to completion was Xenoblade Definitive Editions, and plus Future Connected, the sort of side chapter to that was 80 hours. So I'm like, 24 to 40 hours, that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, well, definitely compared to that, it's like, pretty easy time-wise for the investment.
Yeah, because for me, this has been the year of, I guess, RPGs. Like the first game I sort of finished to completion this year was one playthrough of Fire Emblem 3 Hours. I still have to go back and do the other two. Then I did Xenoblade. Now I'm doing Paper Mario.
Yeah, bloody crazy, man. Do you have any more RPGs in the pipeline to play this year, or once you finish Paper Mario, do you reckon you'll be like, all right, I'm going to play some Mario Kart for a bit, just chill out?
Well, I actually have Trails of Cold Steel 3 on Switch, which I haven't played the first two. I haven't played the first two games, but I was listening to the Thirsty Mage podcast, which is, I think they're affiliated with Nintendo World Report, and they basically said, it's a really good game. You don't necessarily have to play the first two games, which I think is a bit of a controversial opinion in the JRPG community. But I listened to their podcast. They convinced me, and it sounds like a really fun game, like good battle system, good narrative and story. So I'll give that a try probably. But I guess I try to break up the types of games I play. So I'll pop like between Fire Emblem and Xenoblade Chronicles, I played Ty the Tasmanian Tiger to completion. So something shorter and didn't really take much effort or thought process to finish that. So I'll probably do something similar before I try another JRPG.
Yeah. How was that on Switch? I haven't really looked much into that game.
it is really a product of its time. It sort of it screams early 2000s mascot platformer, but with an Australian twist to it, which is absolutely brilliant. There's some well-known Australian voice like actors voice casted in that game, and it's just hilarious. All the characters speak in just Australian slang. Ty says like "you beauty" all the time, and it just has like, from a gameplay perspective, it's probably not that great, but it just has a lot of heart, I think, and a lot of character, and it takes about, you can finish it in about 5 hours.
Yeah, just like as an Australian, you get a kick out of just like, oh, he said the word that a lot of us say.
Yeah, it's he said mate. Oh, that's really funny. let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. So how do you feel about Paper Mario like not having the RPG sort of leveling up systems? Does that bother you, or is that something you would like to see come back? How do you feel on that aspect of the series going forward?
I guess I've come to I've sort of come to the realization that that's what Paper Mario is these days, and I can enjoy it for what it is instead of what it isn't, because I went through that exact same process with Super Paper Mario when I got that early in the Wii life cycle. I remember, because I love Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, as I mentioned on episode 2, and I heard, oh, Super Paper Mario is coming out. I'm going to love this. This is going to be great. And I remember getting that, starting to play that, and I played about 2 or 3 hours of that, and I never went back. Still haven't gone back to that game because it just wasn't what I expected. It wasn't a turn-based RPG. It was played completely differently. So I sort of stayed away from it. I have Sticker Star. I never played that, but now I've sort of, I guess I've come to the realization that, well, it's not going to be an RPG, but it still sounds like an interesting game. I like I like the aesthetic of it. I like the art style. I like the music. The writing's always amusing. There's a lot to gain from playing the game than just, I guess, bemoaning the fact it's not an RPG.
Yeah,
and of course there's flaws to the battling system. There's flaws to the puzzle system, which I guess masquerades as the battling system. But I think there's some fun aspects to it as well that makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's been like over a decade, like since the series has been without sort of leveling up mechanics in the game. Like it's been a long time. It's kind of surprising that people haven't really adjusted to it yet. Like they kind of treat it like Thousand Year Door came out 4 years ago, and then they suddenly just like flip the switch, and then it's just like a completely different series. But it's been like this for longer than it's been an RPG series now.
Well, exactly, and I've never quite understood the fascination with leveling systems, honestly. And I'm someone that I've played a lot of RPGs, played World of Warcraft for many years, so used to it. But I noticed in Xenoblade Chronicles that, in effect, the leveling system at a certain point just becomes a sort of gatekeeper of, oh, you can't go to this area, you can't attack these enemies yet because you're not the right level. Go grind for a bit and come back.
Yeah,
I think in a lot of RPGs they don't necessarily handle leveling well. It gets to the point of, well, it's gating you from progressing through the game.
Yeah, because like my first Mario RPG was Mario and Luigi and Partners in Time, and like I would like run through that game and I'd skip enemies because like, oh, I want to save time, whatever. And I get to a boss, and every single boss I struggled so much. And then a friend of mine, he bought the game and he just zoomed past us and finished the game. I'm like, how the hell did you beat it that quick? This game is so hard. And it was because just like he was just battling every enemy. The pacing of that game was designed to just like beat everything. And then that will make you the suitable level to move on. Like, so like in the new Paper Mario games, when you get to a boss, you're not going to lose against it because, oh, I didn't battle enough Goombas. You're going to lose against it because you didn't like do the puzzle quick enough, or you didn't think about where you need to hit the particular enemy. So I'm not too worried about the leveling up mechanics either, because like I love like gaining experience in that too. Like it's just really fun just to, see the numbers pop up, and it gives you like a really real rewarding feeling. But for this game in particular, the way they've made it, I don't feel bad that it's disappeared.
Yeah, and they do make it quite easy to skip a lot of the normal battles anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of the enemies, you can just walk around them and quickly stop following you,
Yeah, which is good.
which is honestly what I do quite a bit.
Yeah, I like the bit like at the very start when like you get the hammer, then it's like, hey, you can just hit them and they die straight away. You don't have to go into battle. And like it kind of makes me want to just do that for all the areas. But it just become like a really wonky Mario platformer kind of. If you're just like not doing those battles and it's just all exploration. But yeah.
Well, I've made the argument on a few Discord channels that it would actually be a very interesting action RPG if it was just you took the combat that you use when in Origami King, you take on those big paper mache shy guys and Goombas and just apply that to all the battles and maybe have the boss fights as they are used in the ring system, because I think, especially for boss fights, the ring system works quite well. But
Yeah.
I actually like the sneaking up on enemies and smashing them with a hammer, and I think that could be changed up a bit. But you could also change up the ring system as well if you added sort of multiple rings and you controlled multiple characters at the same time, and you had to sort of line up multiple enemies and get them all in the range of like 1 or 2 or 3 different characters you controlled. It could become a lot more interesting and complex. So I think it's a good system at its core.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
So have you been playing anything else or just onto the Paper Mario train?
Well, this week I didn't actually play any Paper Mario. Over the weekend, it was Pokemon Go Fest 2020, so I've been playing that over the weekend. Did you ever play Pokemon Go, or do you currently play it at all, or what's your go with that game?
So my current go is that I only have my iPhone has about 64 gigs of storage, and a lot of that is music and photos. So I have to constantly delete my Pokemon Go app to actually use my phone. So currently not playing, but Pokemon Go has always been I play in bursts since it first launched. Like, I loved it at launch, played it for a long time, dropped it. Then when I was in my final year of undergrad uni at Melbourne Uni, I had a friend in my honours class that was very keen on it. So I used to go on raids with her and got into it again. And then when I was in Scotland, I walked a lot, had to walk to class a lot, and it was a very walkable city. So whenever I was walking somewhere, I'd just chuck open Pokemon Go and catch some Pokemon, and always hatching eggs and that sort of thing. So I see the appeal of it. I enjoy it, but it's not something I play all the time.
Yeah, I wasn't into it for a long time. I played it when it came out and sort of fallen off it because a lot of other people fell off it as well. But I think it was last PAX where I saw some people playing. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the cities. There's actually things to do, because in the country town I'm in at the moment, there was just like so little to do. And like I didn't know anyone else who played it. Doing raids was impossible. And it's just like, I can't really do what the game wants me to do to play it. So sort of lost interest in it. But last year when I went to PAX and in Melbourne, I got sort of reinvigorated to play it. When I come back, I kept on playing it. Made some friends within the town. There's they had a Facebook group going where they do raids and that. So cool. So I jumped in there and started doing that, and I've sort of become like, there was one stage where I was actually pretty obsessed with it. That was pretty much all I was playing. I get home and I'm still playing Pokemon Go because of all the features they've added. And with Pokemon Go Fest this year, basically every year they have Pokemon Go Fest in a different city within the world, and obviously because of coronavirus, that's a no-go this year. So they opted to hold it worldwide. And it was a ticketed event. It's like $22 for a ticket, but it gives you access to challenges and exclusive Pokemon and et cetera, et cetera. And it was a lot of fun. So basically the weekend I spent just walking around. I had work at night time, so I made sure I got the most out of my days. And I'm going out into the town just by myself, listening to podcasts, just flinging Pokeballs at things. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. What was the best thing was on day 2, where there's a Team Rocket challenge where you're able to capture Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno, a Shadow, Mewtwo, and then that was the time they actually released Victini, which is a little fire mythical Pokemon from Generation 5. So, I mean, yeah, it's all pretty cool stuff. But if you're not into Pokemon, it's just like, what the hell you on about, Drew? But I'm really enjoying it. and apparently they made a shitload of money out of this weekend too, which we'll talk about when we get to the news. But I think this is going to be sort of a mainstay because of how successful they were at getting money out of everybody.
Yeah, it sounds. I don't think they're going to go back to their old model of it's only one city a year by the sounds of it.
No, because it doesn't really make much sense. Like, why limit yourself when you can just get $22 or the equivalent out of everyone across the world?
Well, exactly, because you get all the hardcore Pokemon Go fans, and I'm sure it also brings in a lot of other people that occasionally play it, that they decide, oh, this is the weekend to do it with all my friends. I'm going to go in and get a group of friends and do it.
Yeah, because I'm not going to go to London, or I'm not even going to go to Sydney to go and play in a Go Fest, but I'm happy to buy a ticket and just run around my own town.
Well, exactly. And you can become one of those hardcore Pokemon Go fans, Drew, and get a second phone, and you can have two people effectively.
There's a few of them getting around my town, actually. It's just like, all right, it's a bit much. I know, like, it was necessary before because, like, just the limited amount of people, like, people kind of needed a second phone. Like, if they're going around with a friend, you need like at least 4 to do a legendary raid. So I was like, all right, you need like the extra phone to actually play it. That's how it kind of was. But they introduced remote raiding like a week or so before Pokemon Go Fest, and it's made the game a lot more playable for people like me in a country town. I actually filled out my friends list with like people from like Japan, New Zealand, like America, just like all these different places. So I've got friends all over the world, and the Japanese sort of time zone lines up with ours. So I was getting heaps of invites from Japanese players. So I was able to do like raids pretty much just throughout the day, which was just really useful because like if I was just doing it in my town, we might be lucky to get 6 people. That'd be like a good raid. But I was like jumping into raids with like 15 people from Japan and from all over the world. So it's really, really useful in that way. But it is, I don't know, like some people might think that it sort of takes away the point of playing the game when you can just like sit in bed and do raids. Because I like, it starts at 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get up at 10 o'clock and I'll go. But then I was just literally sitting in bed with an incense on, just catching Pokemon, doing raids, doing everything. I'm like, oh, do I even have to leave my room? I don't think I did. I didn't really have to go anywhere. But it's more fun to actually get up, and it was a nice weekend, so it was worth getting up and checking out stuff.
Well, exactly, and I think that's the point to the detractors who say it takes away from the purpose. There's always going to be a point to actually get out there on your feet, go to see some gyms, go to some Pokestops, win some gyms over, get those Poke coins, or what are they called, Poke coins, or I just know the gold coins with Pikachu's face on them, but
pretty sure they're Poke coins.
Get some of those.
Yeah,
Poke coins.
They did some changes to gyms recently where if you hold a gym for I think it's like 24 hours or so, you get 30 coins. And then if you do like certain other challenges, you get the extra 20 coins. Whereas before it was just like you get the 50 coins from the gym. So I'm really not that motivated to put stuff in gyms anymore. I haven't done it in a fair while just because the amount you get back isn't really all that tempting. So I don't really like the changes they've made to that. But just the collection aspect, I'm enjoying it more than ever. So that's good.
Got to catch them all.
You do. I'm only missing a few Kanto Pokemon now. I think it's like only missing like the regional Pokemon. So it's Tauros, Mr. Mime, Farfetch'd, some other ones. Like in Australia, we get Kangaskhan because I guess it's a kangaroo or it's got a pouch or something like that. So that counts as an Australian animal. But yeah, so I'm only missing them. So if anyone's out there with a Mr. Mime and all of those Pokemon, trade them with me, please.
Drew, I'm happy to trade you a Mr. Mime.
Yeah, because you would have Mr. Mime, yeah. Because I think Mr. Mime was Europe. Is that where?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would love a Mr. Mime.
So many in Europe, actually. I will see more Mr. Mimes and you see Kangaskhan. I think they've changed the rates, of course. But at one point, like whenever I opened up Pokemon Go, there would always be a Mr. Mime there to catch.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, because there are a fair few Kangaskhan around here. I'm always catching Kangaskhan, and it's like, it kind of like it's a pretty powerful Pokemon. It's pretty good, but just getting that many of them, like, all right, I'm sick of them. Show me something else.
Well, exactly. You just get tired of seeing the same Pokemon over and over again. And I think that's one of the points why I stopped because at one point I was playing sort of every day, would open it up, but because I was going to the same areas at similar times, it was generally the same. I know they changed over depending on what was going on, but often it was, I don't need any more of those Pokemon. Why would I catch them?
Yeah, because like after the Go Fest finished, it's gone back to like Caterpie and just like stuff like that. It's like, all right, I don't even know why I'm turning on the game at the moment. There's nothing that interesting around. All right. So, anything else you're playing before we move on to the news?
Well, you joked about it earlier, but I have been playing Mario Kart a bit actually with my sister's over at the moment, so we like to crack that open up and play a few races every night. So I'm really enjoying that. Because,
Mario Kart 8. Yep, cool.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 on Switch. I actually only got that recently because for many years, I had it on Wii U, and I always thought, oh, why do I need it on Switch? Because I have it on Wii U, but I'm not with my Wii U at the moment, so decided to finally get it on Switch, and really enjoying that, and really rediscovering why that is such a good game.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, oh, when's Mario Kart 9? But I really don't really see the need for a Mario Kart 9. I don't know. They'll have to do something like pretty different because they're not going to do anything sort of, graphically or engine-wise to it necessarily, I think. So I don't, and they already made a fair few changes to Mario Kart 8 on Switch. They did the dual item system, battle mode was improved a lot. They added the DLC. There's plenty of courses and characters to choose from. So just like the typical things you would expect, like extra courses, extra characters. I don't know what we would benefit from a Mario Kart 9 at the moment, unless they go for a different type of mechanic where it is, I don't know, say double dash or something like that.
I'd like them to do a sort of Smash Ultimate take on it. Instead of everyone is here character-wise, every stage is here, and they just have every single Mario Kart stage from all the Mario Kart games ever developed. That would be awesome.
That would be sick, yeah. It would be,
and they're all updated. Yeah,
maybe
they're all updated like they are on the Switch. It would look brilliant and play really well.
Yeah, I would even be up for more Mario Kart 8 DLC. Just do another pack.
Yeah, but Nintendo just oddly seems to not want to support their games digitally, as I'm sure. Well, you and Bryce have talked about this occasionally over the years, but like look at Splatoon. They dropped Splatfest for the last year. I know they're sort of bringing them back on a sort of one-off basis now, but those were huge, and I know a lot of people got back into it for the ketchup and mayo. And if they released more DLC for that, they'd get a lot of people buying it. But and you only have to look at Mario Party or Super Mario Party on Switch as well. Like, where's the DLC for that? Yeah. That's crying out for it.
Yeah, because I know, like, I went back for the Catch Up versus DLC. Not versus DLC, Catch Up versus Mayo. It's just Catch Up versus DLC. So, like, you got to stand up for what you believe in. And I really like Catch Up, or tomato sauce, as we call it here in Australia. Yes. So it
was a great win by Ketchup.
It was, and I think Mayo won the first round back in the day, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So it was righteous vengeance.
Yeah. All right, Tam, are you ready to get into some news?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Woohoo! Yeah! Pika, pika! Is that all?
I fight for my friends.
Yahoo!
My body is still.
All right, Tam. So first one on the agenda is from My Nintendo News, and it's a book coming out, which you actually put in the Discord and put me onto. So it's Words of Wisdom and Iwata Asks coming to the West in spring 2021. And Viz Media has confirmed this evening that Iwata Asks Words of Wisdom is getting an official English release and is scheduled to arrive in the West next spring. The tribute to the late and great Nintendo president Satoru Iwata will be available in both print and digital editions. The book launched in Japan some time ago, and now English readers can experience it for themselves. So I never actually heard about this before, Tam, but did you hear about it when it came out in Japan, or did you just hear about it when it got announced for a Western release?
Yeah, so I heard about this when it first got announced for Japan, and I've been eagerly watching it and sort of hoping that they would do an official English translation, because I believe that, I'm going to butcher the name, but I believe it was written, or he participated in the writing of it, Shikazatsu Itoi, who was the creator of Earthbound, the Mother series, and he was quite a close friend of Iwata, and he had some very touching things to say when Iwata passed away. He wrote this very moving poem that I remember reading, and it was very, very emotional. And I'm just very interested to see what's in the book, because from the extracts I've read, there's some very interesting things about what Iwata asked and sort of his life and some of his insights on development and that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be a very worthwhile read for Nintendo fans.
Yeah, like I don't read anywhere near as much as I would like. I'd like to get through a book a month type of thing and learn things, but it doesn't happen because I choose to spend my time playing video games and other things. But whenever like an interesting video game book comes up, I'm always like, yes, I'm going to read that. And this one especially, obviously about someone who I respect so much, and just information about how he had influence on products that I really, really love. I'm definitely going to pick this up, whether it is digital or an actual hardcover book, depending on what the situation is in 2021. But
I think we'll get a hardcover book, thankfully, and there's still something special about getting those hardcover books, I find.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm a bit of a collector, unfortunately, as I always say, but there's something about, I have a Kindle as well, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, definitely not, yeah. Because like I got my iPad back in 2014, and the intention was to download books on that store and just like read them there. And it's like, it's just easy. They're like, $5 most to buy. It's a cheap way to do it, easy way to do it. But yeah, I started doing it, and I just didn't enjoy it as much, because there's one thing owning a physical video game, like you buy it, you get the disc out, you install it onto your PlayStation or put the thing into your Switch, you're like, cool. But you're playing it exactly the same. But when you're actually reading a book, it's just the whole experience is completely different. You're holding a completely different thing. So yeah, I'll try and get a physical copy, but we'll see how long that will take to get here and everything, especially to Australia. And even if they publish to Australia, obviously they're saying like the West, so they're probably thinking about America fore and foremost.
Yeah, touch wood. And it really, really makes me remember fondly reading all those Iwata asks. I used to love reading those when a new game released, and you could go on Nintendo's website and click on Iwata's ask and read about Iwata interviewing the developers of a game. And I think that's something that's really been missing over the last 5-6 years. And
yeah,
I know they aren't going to bring it back, but I wish they did.
Yeah, and you can see a fair few things like what they used to do missing because of Iwata. Obviously the Iwata asks, which obviously you can't replace, but even like the directs, where how personal and intimate it was with him sort of like showing you Nintendo games. And over the years, especially with like the loss of Reggie and all of that, it's just become like, all right, here's the points we need to hit, and that's what it is. And that's fine, but looking back on the days where Iwata was more I guess in the spotlight because of that. Just like even like the E3 presentations with the Robot Chicken and then the Muppets the next year. I really miss them. I really wish the E3 presentations were just like really weird, really wacky. Just they go balls to the wall with the production and just really enjoy themselves. But they sort of moved away from that at E3 as well. But yeah, looking forward to this book.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, sorry, you going?
Nah, we probably should go on.
I was just going to ask, do you read many video game books? And if you do you have any you suggest people or myself go and check out?
So I have one that I've been meaning to read for many years. I think it's called Game Over. I think it's about Sega and Sega and Nintendo in the early 90s and their sort of feud and war it's called, no, it's Console Wars. I don't have Game Over is another book.
Yeah.
Console Wars is the one I'm talking about. And I've been meaning to read that. Otherwise, I'm a bit of a reader, but I mainly read a lot of dry, crusty history books these days.
Yeah.
I did read one book about, I think it was 101 greatest video games between 1978 and 1986, and that was I wrote a review for Another Castle for that. But that was actually probably the last video game related book I read.
Yeah. Console Wars was actually like the book I'm thinking about when I said I bought it on iPad, and then I got like halfway through it, and then for whatever reason didn't get the other half read, which was a shame because that book is absolutely fascinating.
Actually, that reminds me. I did buy a video game related book on my Kindle, and I really want to read it. It's Jason Schreier. He used to write for, I think, Kotaku. Now he's with he's with some other website now.
He's with
not necessarily game.
He's with Bloomberg.
Sorry?
He's with Bloomberg doing their gaming coverage. Yeah.
Yes, he's with Bloomberg now doing their gaming coverage. But I think his book is about sort of it's about what's it called? When a game isn't released.
Delayed.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, I should know it as well.
No, games that are cancelled. It's an easy term. Jeez, it's getting late, isn't it? But yeah, it's about it's about the development process, especially on cancelled games and sort of crunch time and those sort of phenomenon in video game development. So I'm very eager to give that a read. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me, but if you search Jason Schreier, I'm sure you'll find it.
Yeah, Jason Schreier. It's coming up with other Jason Schreiers on Google, so I can't find it just off the cap. But yeah. So I guess next up, we've got a couple of small ones before we get into some bigger ones. So the 15th Tetris 99 Maximus Cup begins July 31st, and it's a Paper Mario the Origami King. So if you want to participate in that, the event runs from 12 a.m. PT on July 31st to the 3rd of August. So if you want that exclusive theme for Paper Mario, jump in. I think we actually joked about it a couple of episodes ago, but this was going to happen. But it's pretty obvious it's going to happen. So
yeah, I think they're doing it for every major Nintendo release now, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess it's just like an easy bit to keep the game going. All they do is like put a picture in the background and put some music, and that's pretty much it. So it's a pretty easy way to keep new content revolving in that game. Next up is some Pokemon TCG expansion news. So a new Pokemon TCG expansion is coming, and it's called Champion's Path. So this is just a little write-up from My Nintendo News, and they say, today the Pokemon Company International announced the newest expansion for the Pokemon trading card game, Champion's Path, available worldwide starting September 25th. The expansion recreates a trainer's journey through the Galar region as seen in the Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield video games by collecting various pins featuring gym logos as well as foil cards for the partner Pokemon for each gym leader. Champion's Path also adds new Pokemon V and Pokemon V Max like Venusaur V, Lucario V, Dreadnought V Max, Alcremie V Max, and more. So I just brought this up just in case people are interested in the Pokemon trading card game. I like personally for me, I always want to get into it, and like every time a new expansion comes out, I'm like, cool, this is my time to get in. And then like when a new expansion comes out, it just makes me feel bad. I'm like, oh, now I have to go and get that. So that kind of just makes me not get in there, because there was a point before where I went on. This might have been around, I think it was like when Pokemon Sun and Moon came out back in 2016, and I was like, this was like the high of Pokemon Go and everything. And I went on to Amazon. I bought like $200 worth of Pokemon cards. I bought like the boxes and everything, and just I really unboxed them, got the rare ones, put them in the folder. I'm like, cool. And that's all they are. They're just like a display piece. So I haven't really jumped in there to keep up with the new game and actually play it. Because I never actually played it. Like even when I was a kid, I just sort of like collected the cards and went, cool. I don't know what these attacks do. I don't know what this number at the top does, but the artwork looks cool. So that's as far as I go with the Pokemon trading card game. Did you ever play Pokemon trading cards?
When I was back in primary school, when it first came out, I remember trading cards more than actually playing the game. But I did play a few I played the game quite a bit as well, and it was a fun card game. But I remember my friend group my friend group and sort of kids in general at my school quickly moved on to Yu-Gi-Oh! So
Right.
Pokemon trading card games sort of got left behind.
Yeah, at my school it was Yu-Gi-Oh as well. And like some of my friends actually gave me like a handful of their duplicate cards, like, oh, get into it, learn how to play it. And a few lunchtimes there was like this guy who was like, I guess we sort of saw him as like the king of Yu-Gi-Oh. He watched the show, he knew how to play. He had like ice cream containers full of cards, and we'll go to like the shelter shed, which was just like, asphalt, just with seats. We'll like kneel on the ground and put the Yu-Gi-Oh cards down and play it like that. I never really got into Yu-Gi-Oh that much. I thought the cartoon was kind of cool and kind of corny. It was fine. It was a good waste of time in the morning. But I always had some like a little vendetta against Yu-Gi-Oh because in the mornings I had to catch the school bus like pretty early to get into town because I lived out of town. So I'd be able to watch Yu-Gi-Oh, and just as I had to get in the car, Pokemon would come on. So I never got to watch like Pokemon on Cheese TV, which was absolutely devastating. So I'd get to school, and my friends who live in town would catch me up on that episode saying, oh, Brock got a Mudkip and it was really cool, and they beat Team Rocket. I'm like, oh, really? Wow. That was like my day, like getting to school, like, all right, Adam, what happened in Pokemon? You're like, all right, man, let's sit down. Let's discuss this. It's pretty serious, this episode. Team Rocket showed up. It was fucking nuts. It's like, all right. So, yeah, that's my experience with card games. Very exciting. So
better to stay out of them. They're a massive money drain from what I've seen from friends. So
yeah.
We already have video games, Drew. So I think that's one money pit enough.
Yeah, especially with Pokemon. I think they get my money well enough as it is. So speaking of getting my money, this is from gamesindustry.biz, and the title is Players Spent 17.5 million during Pokemon Go Fest 2020. So the article.
Jeez.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a longer article, but the article reads: Last weekend's Pokemon Go Fest saw a massive spike in user spending, with 17.5 million spent across the 2-day event. Sensor Tower estimates show players spent 8.9 million on Sunday, July 25th, and 8.6 million on Sunday, July 25th. By comparison, revenues for Friday, July 24th reached 7.8 million. The 8.9 million generated on the first day of the event makes it the most lucrative single day for player spending in the same game since July 29, 2016, when players spent 13.3 million. Since the start of the year, Pokemon Go has generated, 539 million, bringing its lifetime revenue to almost 3.7 billion across the last 4 years. Developer Niantic made significant changes to the game earlier this year to account for the COVID-19 pandemic. While the game centers around players going out to the real world and interacting with different locations, the studio made it easier for players to progress while staying at home. This has an immediate effect, with revenues spiking just 1 week later. So just off that note of Niantic making big changes, obviously we talked about the remote raids before. They've done an absolutely fantastic job of really evolving this game to be able to be played in the current climate, which for me, just as I said, living in a country town, it's just made the game so much more fun, just because I can actually play it how they sort of want us to play it. So big props to Niantic for that. And they're seeing the reward in obviously a huge spike in revenue, which is just absolutely crazy numbers, like for one weekend for the one game. And really all they did is do a few like tasks and events, that would have taken time, and like put a few Pokemon spawns here and whatever, move some stuff around. It's not a super easy thing to do, but to be generating this type of money is just absolutely nuts. Like, this is the type of money you would expect from maybe like one of their, I don't know, like side games, like a Mystery Dungeon or something, like at launch. Maybe Mystery Dungeon wouldn't even have made this, So just absolutely crazy numbers.
It probably made more than the Paper Mario Origami King launch,
Probably did.
to put it in perspective.
Yeah. And that game sold pretty well. It sold twice the amount the previous Paper Mario games did as well. But yeah, this is just crazy numbers. So props to Niantic. They're doing well with what they're doing with Pokemon Go. So it's good to see that they're being rewarded for it.
Yeah, but as the old Nintendo slogan goes, it prints money.
Just like the DS at the Game Boy Advance slot. Yeah, just like, it prints money. Still one of my favorite gifs of Iwata and Miyamoto. They're just like grinning.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out of the DS. It's coming out of their mouth. I'm pretty sure it's just money's everywhere.
Yeah, I wish I've got probably like 5 DSs. I wish they did print money, like for me, not Nintendo, but I wish they printed it for me. Yeah, and the fact that I own that many is literally why it printed money, because people kept them buying them, even though a few were secondhand. But regardless. So Brendan, do you play ARMS at all? Are you still playing ARMS every day? Wake up in the morning, getting the Joy-Cons off, just like smacking around? Because
honestly haven't touched that. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, because if you haven't, you might now. Actually, you won't, because it's only in the Americas. But if you're in the Americas, there's a ARMS North American Open on August 2020, and it will run from the 8th to the 9th. And you can get some cool prizes. So Nintendo has announced that the next entry in Nintendo vs. Summer Series of events is almost here. The ARMS North American Open August 2020 is going to run from the 8th to the 9th. And Nintendo says that the grand prizes include download codes for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 2, and the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2. So if you're keen to play some ARMS and win some game codes, go ahead. Very exciting. Next up.
This goes back to our... Oh, just quickly say, Drew, I think this brings us back to our previous point of Nintendo just not supporting online games, and then magically, miraculously, oh yeah, here's an ARMS event because, we have that character that just came out in Smash, so we better try to get a few extra dollars for people buying a 3-year-old game. Okay, guys, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just showing what type of year they have. Like, they really don't have that much. Obviously, I think we've had 3 major games with Xenoblade Definitive Edition, Paper Mario, and Animal Crossing, which is obviously the huge one, which is keeping them going. But yeah, they're just like, all right, we don't have that much content, so let's try and leverage some of our content from 2017, 2018. Obviously, Smash Bros. Is still going with the DLC pass and Spirit events. Splatoon, they're sort of reviving the Splatfest, and with ARMS, like, yeah, bugger it, let's try and get this going as well. So, yeah, personally, I really like ARMS, so I quite like that they say they're doing tournaments and that, and not that I would ever like sign up to do one, but it's just cool to see it in the news, I guess. So this
Agreed.
This is a weird one. This is also from My Nintendo News, and the title is Mega Man live action movie. Big news is coming soon. So it's been quite a time since we've heard anything about a live action Mega Man film. We reported back in late 2018 when it was announced that one was in the works. But now, thanks to directors Henry Joost and Rel Schumann, who recently spoke with IGN, we have an update, and we can expect to get some news about it soon. Schumann also takes the time to share his love of the franchise. Quote, we're super excited about it. I think we're going to have some big news about it very soon. I can't say all that much right now, but it's a project very near and dear to our hearts, and we're psyched. End quote. So we're going to get some Mega Man movie news, which I completely forgot about when it was announced in 2018, but it's like any video game movie. I'm very skeptical that this can be any good at all. Would you be interested in going to the theaters to go and watch a Mega Man movie, or is this going to be something you're just like, oh yeah, it's just going to brush it over your shoulder?
I'll only be interested if it's the 1980s box art Mega Man that appeared in, I think it was Marvel vs. Capcom, the sort of fat, middle-aged old Mega Man. If that's the Mega Man they're using for the live action, then yeah, I'll be there day one, because that would be hilarious.
That'd be so good. Yeah. I absolutely love it, because that was back in the that was in the time too where Mega Man was just not getting any attention whatsoever. Even though fans were like, all right, can we have another Mega Man? So like, all right, you can have him in this fighting game, but we're going to troll the shit out of you and just give you this fat lumbering man Mega Man, which has since become like, kind of a meme in the way it's used.
Precisely, and it's such a good meme. So, but honestly, I agree with you. Video game movies are generally nothing to get excited about, nothing to really watch unless you hear that, oh, this one is actually good. So
Yeah.
I'll be very cautious when it comes to this one. And I honestly doubt that it'll even come out because video game movies seem to be announced sort of every year. You get like 3 or 5 that are announced and you never hear about them ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if we ever get the news. I know they say like, oh, the news is coming, but it's kind of like the Uncharted movie on Sony's side where it's like, are we ever going to get that movie? Who knows? So next up is just a reminder that Pokémon Tournament DX is getting a free trial, and it's available right now. So it'll be available from the 29th, which is, I think this podcast comes out on the 30th, to the 11th. So you've got pretty much, or the 11th of August. So you've got a bit under 2 weeks to go and try it out. And it's also 30% off. So it's down to $60 Australian if you want to give it a go. And Pokken Tournament, like I got it on Wii U, and it was one of those games I sort of wanted to get on Switch, but it was just so expensive. The base price was $90, and with the DLC, with the extra characters, like 130. Like it was just like ridiculously priced. So anyone like me who's like, oh, I wouldn't mind picking this up, probably the time is now. But it's still too expensive for me, even with 30% off. So I'm not that worried. But did you ever play Pokken Tournament?
Yeah, so I had it on Wii U, and then I enjoyed it on Wii U, but really only played it local multiplayer with friends and family. But when it came out on Switch, what I did was actually the Wii U version was still worth sort of $50 on eBay. So I sold my Wii U copy and just bought a Switch one for, I think I got it for about $69 or from JB Hi-Fi at the time or what have you. So yeah. I didn't spend actually that much on it. So I don't play it that much, but it is a game sort of I pull out occasionally, play if someone's over, or play online if I can actually find someone online to play with.
Yeah, I only played it for a couple of weeks because when I bought it, a few weeks later, I actually went on a pretty big holiday for a couple of months. And while I was away, I'm like, Bryce, you may as well borrow this. You can play it. And he only gave it back to me last year. So I actually barely played the game. So like obviously last year or this year, I haven't booted up my Wii U for a long time. It's still hooked up, mind you. It's next to my Xbox One. But yeah, I just haven't booted it up. So maybe if I want to play this, I could just go, all right, I'm going to play the Wii U version. Don't worry about the extra characters, and I'll just save money. I think that's the way to go for that one. So this one's from My Nintendo News, and the title is Nintendo's annual report shows staff average age, annual salary, and more. So a few days ago, we got insight into how much some of the bosses at Nintendo have earned. But now, thanks to senior analyst Daniel Ahmed, this year's average figures for such things like average employee age and numbers of employees at Nintendo have been revealed. Below, you can see 2020's figures and beneath that, check out how the numbers differ in the previous year. So in 2020, there are 2,395 employees compared to 2019 when there was 2,271 employees. The average age is 39.2. And in 2019, the average age was 38.6. So they've employed a couple of older people and they've bumped up the age a little bit at Nintendo. The average length of employment is 13.9. And obviously, in 2019, the average length of employment was 13.5 years. And the average work day in 2020, it doesn't say the average work, because it hasn't finished yet, I guess. The average work day in 2019 was 7 hours and 45 minutes. And the average salary in 2020 is 86 grand, where the average salary in 2019 was 80 grand. I assume American. So yeah, they're earning a little bit more, I guess. Got some more employees. Average age has gone up a bit. It's just like little bits of interesting information because we don't get that much information about sort of inside Nintendo, so it's just cool to get some little random figures.
Definitely, it's a mystery company, so I guess us fans sort of we dive for any sort of scraps or morsels that appear, don't we?
Yeah, because like I said, I think it was last episode or the episode before, I can't remember, but with like companies like PlayStation Studios, we know like who's head of Sucker Punch, who's head of Naughty Dog. We know like they're Western companies, so we know like a lot about how they make their games, and they appear in lots of interviews and podcasts and have discussions and all that. Whereas Nintendo, obviously, there's that language barrier. They're in a completely different part of the world, covered by different media in Japan, so we don't actually get a lot of this insight we might get from other Western companies. So even if we get like a couple of numbers like, oh, this is how many people work there, it's like, oh, that's interesting. So this is just a quick one. I've got a lot of news from My Nintendo News because they've got good little write-ups. But this is just a quick one because Caseify is partnering with the Pokemon Company for another collection. And Caseify, they're basically case manufacturers for iPhones. I think they do some for Samsungs and other popular models, but it's mainly for iPhones. And when I think it was late last year, they had a range out for the iPhone, is it 10 back then? 10S or 10, who cares? Last year's iPhone, and I was actually upgrading to the iPhone 11 Pro, so I had to wait for them to do a case for the new model, and I was really hoping that case was going to include the Pokemon range, but it didn't. It's sort of like as soon as the new phone launched, we ran out. It ran out, so I couldn't buy one. So I've been like, I was pretty disappointed that I missed out. So now that they're actually doing a new collection, that's good. So the article reads, following a sold-out series released last year, Caseify and the Pokemon Company have once again teamed up to deliver an original Pokemon collection, channeling a nostalgic 90s theme which pays homage to when the first Pokemon video games were released. The collaboration introduces many new designs for a variety of lifestyle products designed by Caseify. The first drop of the 3-part series will debut on August 12th, 2020, shipping worldwide from caseify.com/Pokemon. So the article goes on, but I don't have to read the whole thing. But I am interested in getting a phone case, which with Pikachu and all that fun stuff on it. So that's just a little bit of news that I was excited about. If you don't have an iPhone or you're not in the sort of bit for a phone case, it doesn't really matter. But do you rep any like video game imagery on your phone case, or do you just have like a black phone case with like a really protective screen protector and stuff? Or
yeah, I'm pretty boring and minimalistic. My phone case is just black. Though it does slide out and you can put your credit cards in the back. So I will rep that feature for any phone cover. But no, I'm generally pretty minimalistic. And I just want to wish you all the luck in actually securing one of these phone cases this time, Drew. Hopefully you get the one you want.
I signed up for the email list. Like, I'm pretty serious about it. I'm like, I want that buddy Pikachu.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I am like, you know what it's like with Pokemon. Like, I don't really feel like it these days, but when like I'm at work or something and like people see me on my phone with like a big Pikachu on the back, it's like, am I going to get bullied? Am I going to get harassed? It's like, no, I'm not. But I could imagine like at school, that'd be something I think about.
Oh, definitely. You would have thought, is someone going to make a bad comment about this? Do I need to hide my phone in my jacket pocket and not show it off?
Because I
huddle in the corner near my locker and tap away text.
Yeah. At school on my iPod, I had like the Pokemon theme. I think I had like the 10th anniversary soundtrack with like a few of the Pokemon theme songs, and someone's like, "Oh, play some music." I'm like, "All right," and I put it on random. Then like, the Pokemon theme comes on. I just remember being like really embarrassed. People were like, "What the fuck is this? Why you got the Pokemon theme on there?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." But like a year,
it was my mum. My mum put it on there.
My mum installed iTunes and put it on my iPod. But like a year later, like you find out that everyone's just like, yeah, I like Pokemon. It's like, yeah, well, what the fuck was I so worried about? So this might be one you're interested in. So the Analogue Pocket handheld is now due 2021, and it still looks amazing. So this is from Vooks.net. So before we read the article, have you checked out the Analogue Pocket?
Yeah, I have, and it definitely is something I'm keeping an eye on. But I guess I'm sort of the type that likes to play retro games on original hardware. So when it comes to GBA particularly, I've been looking at this guy on the internet has done a consoleized version of a GBA that you can sort of has HDMI out, and you hook it up to your TV and hook up a Super Nintendo controller to that and play it on effectively original hardware on a TV. So it's solutions like that that I'm really keen on. But I also do like ones that sort of all in one. You can play all different consoles or handheld consoles on the same device. I think that's quite neat and interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll read the article from Vooks and we'll jump into a bit more discussion. So late last year, Analogue announced the Pocket, a modern handheld that will play any Game Boy cartridge you can find. It was due out this year, but, due to the world, it's now set for release in 2021. They have announced, however, a pre-order date, August 4th at 1 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. There have been some changes to the system since it was originally announced. The start and select buttons have been moved. A USB-C charge port is now more receded for stability. The Pocket is a portable handheld console that plays Game Boy cartridges. You can play other consoles with adapters sold separately. It's got a super high resolution screen, backlit, a massive battery. It's a super fancy way of playing your older Game Boy games. That includes Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Advance. The Analogue Pocket isn't cheap, with a price of $200 USD, and that is 278 Australian. And the dock comes in at 99 US, which is 138 Australian. You can pre-order it here. So let's go through some of we'll go through some of the features as well. Because personally, this is something I've wanted for years. This is kind of a product that's made for me. Even though it's pretty expensive, I'm super hyped, and I'm definitely going to be up at 12:30 my time to try and pre-order one. So on their site, they say, meet the Analogue Pocket, a multi-video game system portable handheld. A digital audio workstation with a built-in synthesizer and sequencer, a tribute to portable gaming out of the box. Pocket is compatible with 2,780 plus Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance game cartridge library. Pocket works with cartridge adapters for other handheld systems too, like the Game Gear, Neo Geo Color, Atari Lynx, and more. Completely engineered in 2FPGAs. So the thing, it doesn't work on emulation. It has its own hardware to run the game. So there's no emulation. So there's going to be no skipping or anything. It's going to run exactly how it does on the original Game Boys. The Pocket is designed with a first-in-class 3.5 ppi LCD with a 1600 times 1440 resolution. Pocket has 10 times the resolution of the original Game Boy. Yeah, we can hardly believe it either. Pro-level color accuracy, dynamic range, and lighting. This display is even made from Gorilla Glass. There has never been a display more advanced in a video game system. And just like the idea too, that you can hook it up to your computer and actually use it as a synthesizer. You know how a lot of these music producers hack into the Game Boy and use the sort of sound chip to do their own chip tunes? Well, this thing's actually made with its own program to be able to do that with this. So it's going to be a pretty cool tool for musicians. It's got a sleep and wake feature, so you just hit the button and it goes to sleep like your phone would, and you can suspend it when you like. There's an original display mode, so it looks like it does on the original Game Boy or Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color. There's the dock, so it's pretty much like the Switch. You can have it hooked up to your TV, dock it, and your original Game Boy or Game Boy Advance cartridges can be played on the TV with an 8-bit DO controller or any Bluetooth controller. There's a link cable which links these things up so you can do multiplayer, and it is compatible with original Game Boy Advance and Game Boy consoles, which is really cool. It's got inbuilt sort of programming software, so you can make your own Game Boy games and play them on this thing. It doesn't you can't play ROMs, but the files are basically like their own dot pocket. So they're like their own little files you can use to develop games. So that's like the main gist of it. It's just like a really advanced way to play old Game Boy games in handheld and on your TV. So I'm super excited about this thing. Because I know, like, Tam, we have these conversations where with the Switch, I get all my games digitally because, you know, I can't travel all the time, half an hour to go and get the game. I just download it at midnight, play it that day. It's just really convenient for me. And on Switch too, most of my games are digital. Just like I don't have an option with like all the indie games and everything. So just having them all in one place, whether that is physical or digital, is just works better for me personally. And just like the Switch cartridges now, they're so small that I don't get the big kick out of, say, getting a disc or an old Game Boy Advance cartridge or whatever. But where I really come down on collection is like Game Boy Advance, DS, and 3DS. They're the systems I like to collect for. So for ages, I've been asking for like someone to like come and just make a really premium Game Boy, and I just always wanted a way to play my Pokemon games on the TV. There was a Game Boy Advance Virtual Console on Wii U. Pokemon games never come to that. They came to the 3DS, but that was still playing them on your 3DS. Didn't really want to do it ROM-wise. You know, I don't find ROMs that intriguing. And obviously Game Boy Advance games haven't come to the Switch yet. So this is the way to play my original Pokemon Emerald, Pokemon Sapphire, Pokemon games, whatever have you on the TV. So yeah, really excited. So I reckon I'm going to try and pre-order one. I'm going to get 2 docks. One for like my office, one for the main TV. Going to get the link cable. I'm going to go all out. I'm actually more excited. To be honest, this is going to sound more ridiculous. This is going to sound so ridiculous, but I'm more excited about this little retro console, pre-ordering it, getting it next year, than like, say, like a PlayStation 5. That sounds like really ridiculous, but it's honestly how I feel because these are like the game consoles I enjoy the most. So,
well, we can safely say that this is the Nintendo podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I cannot wait for this.
With your enthusiasm, you've nearly sold me on one as well. I'm going to have to watch this pre-order now, I think.
Yeah, because I can't wait to get one and actually start collecting cartridges properly because I've got an original Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket. Do I have a Game Boy Pocket? Yeah, it was a Game Boy Pocket. It wasn't a Game Boy Light. That was the Japanese exclusive where it actually had a backlight. I don't know why they didn't continue with the backlight after that model. But like, especially like a lot of the cartridges, especially the Pokemon games, their batteries are buggered, so they're not that exciting to sort of like get. I've got like a copy of Pokemon Red and Blue, but you can't play them. I've got a copy of Pokemon Crystal, but can't play it. So whether I go back and like replace the batteries and all of that, I'm not quite sure on that, but just really looking forward to getting one. I was even thinking like, should I get like a black and a white one? Because I'm like, I'm not quite sure, but that is getting a bit too ridiculous. They're like $300 each, so let's not get too stupid here. But yeah, really look forward to this thing. It's a shame that it's May next year. It's like, holy shit, that's a long time to wait. But obviously coronavirus, shipping, fair enough. I would make the same call.
And man, you say you're keen to start collecting cartridges, but just wait until you look at the prices of those things these days. Your eyes will go wide, and especially with GBA cartridges, if you're buying cartridge only, you always have to watch out for those fake cartridges, especially for popular games. It's a bit of a nightmare, but I guess it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, because at AvCon a few years ago, there's a retro game shop there, and that's where I got like my Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color. I got a copy of Pokemon Red, Pokemon Silver, and on the back it had the sticker, and it was like it had a $70 sticker on the back. And Bryce was going through my games, just having a bit of a look, and he's like, $70? You pay fucking $70 for Pokemon Red with like no battery? I'm like, I actually didn't. I got a bit of a discount because I bought a few things, so he sort of did a bit of a discount. But I paid like at least probably like $55 for a copy. Like that's not boxed or anything, obviously. Like, yeah, it's a lot of money, but that they are the consoles I like to collect for. That's where I get the kick out of it. So I'm not all Mr. Digital over here. So anyone who's like, oh, Drew, you've got to go and get your
good.
You got to go and get your Switch cartridges, like, because that's the thing. When I decided to go digital with the Switch, it really did hurt. Like, it was a big like, all right, I'm going to commit to it. It wasn't just a thing where I'm like, all right, I don't care. I never cared about cartridges, because I do. I really do. I'm a collector, just like a lot of you guys listening. And it's just a part of Nintendo fandom in general. I think a lot of people just really enjoy actually having it and seeing it and all that. So it was a hard thing to let go, but I'm just going to relive it with some of the more retro games out there. So have I convinced you to get one yet?
Very tempted, but unfortunately, well, you said you said August 4th, right?
August 4th. So it'll be like, for us, it'll be early August 5th, I believe.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'll be shelling out a lot of money on August 1 for the Lego NES, so my disposable funds will be very limited.
Yeah, fair enough. So that was one of the things where I'm like, oh, that would be nice. That would be fun to build. Maybe even do like a Twitch stream, have a couple of cameras set up and like do that and build it. And it'll be this amazing display piece, that Lego set. But yeah, that's one item where I'm like, all right, put it to the side. Maybe it will go on sale for $20 off in like 5 years. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So when it actually comes out on the 1st of August, doesn't it? I actually kind of forgot that it's actually coming out so soon.
Yeah, they've been doing that quite recently, actually, Lego. They sort of announce it. I've never really paid attention to their release schedule, but with COVID and not much else going on, I get the email updates. And there's been a few sets they will say, oh, it's coming out next month, and this is the date. And then it comes out, and you're like, oh, well, it's out. Cool.
Yeah.
And it's already sold out. Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're gonna have to jump on it pretty quick. I reckon it's gonna be a pretty popular item.
Well, definitely, because historically, like $300, $400, $500 Lego sets never sort of sold out. You could always get it in your own time, own leisured pace. But with COVID, like, you go in the Lego shop today and the $1,500 Lego Millennium Falcon is sold out, and you're just thinking,
really? Wow.
Who's spending $1,500 on this? But
yeah, people are just like stuck inside, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm getting the big Lego set. I don't give a shit. I'm using my check for the last 2 weeks on this instead of emergency fund in case this lasts for longer than we think. I love it though. But just to finish up, in case you are in the US as well, so it's August 3rd, 8 a.m. PST. In case you're in the US, and if you're in another,
I assume.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I assume that's on the Analogue website, or
yeah, it's on the Analogue website. So I'll leave a link in the show notes, as well as other information we're going to talk about on the show today, in case you want an easy link to it. So I guess moving on, this is an article from gamesindustry.biz. The title is Animal Crossing FIFA, The Last of Us top European game charts for this year so far. So Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Last of Us Part 2 and FIFA 20 were at the top of the charts in multiple European countries in the first half of this year. This is according to special JFK survey covering physical unit sales across 18 European countries and Brazil. And Brazil as well. That's weird. Animal Crossing and FIFA 20 were the top-selling game for HI 2020 in 7 countries apiece, with Animal Crossing topping charts in Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, and the UK. And FIFA 20 as the top seller in Denmark, Italy, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Russia, and Spain. The Last of Us Part 2 top charts in 3 countries, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Sweden. But it was also the second highest seller in Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, and Italy. Additionally, Grand Theft Auto 5 was the top seller in Hungary for the first half of the year, and Minecraft was the top in Finland. Other games that have appeared in the top 3 include Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, number 2 in Austria and Sweden, NHL 20, number 2 in Czech Republic and Slovakia, and Forza Horizon 4, which was number 3 in Hungary. Additionally, the JFK data also covered in Brazil, which The Last of Us Part 2 was a top seller. eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 was number 2, and FIFA 20 was number 3. So Animal Crossing on Nintendo side still going very strong, even against stuff like Last of Us Part 2, Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto. Pretty interesting, at least in Europe. And just moving on to another. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it really shows that Animal Crossing was a global phenomenon, and it really is amazing.
Yeah. So we're going to just go over another couple of articles that go over sales and new features for Animal Crossing in the new update. So just rolling on to My Nintendo News, the UK charts, Animal Crossing New Horizons climbs to number 2 and Paper Mario slips to number 4. So the UK video game software charts are now available in games via Games Industry. Last week, Paper Mario the Origami King for Nintendo Switch was number 2, but this week's Mario's Adventure has slipped to number 4. This means that Paper Mario the Origami King is now the second fastest Paper Mario game behind Super Paper Mario on Wii in the United Kingdom. Interestingly, Animal Crossing New Horizons has filled Paper Mario the Origami King's spot. It is now at number 2 this week. Here's the JFK top 10. So at number 1 is Ghost of Tsushima. Number 2 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 3 is F1 2020. Number 4 is Paper Mario Origami King. Number 5 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 6 is The Last of Us Part 2. Number 7 is Minecraft on Nintendo Switch. Number 8 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 9 is Forza Horizon. And number 10 is Ring Fit Adventure. So Animal Crossing, huge legs, absolutely doing wonders for Nintendo. And it's amazing what it's doing for people that are doing Animal Crossing content as well. Friend of the show, Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, he's pretty much changed his channel from Nintendo content to all Animal Crossing content, and like the numbers for the podcast have just spiked and everything. Like him and his colleagues as well are just doing so well because of just the hype and the interest in Animal Crossing, and it's not slowing down anytime soon, especially with the updates we're going to talk about. And even like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 5, like holy shit, it's above The Last of Us Part 2. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Last of Us Part 2 just came out, and it's on a console with 110 install base. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still chucking on. It's a port of a game from 2014, which is amazing.
And not to mention there was all those headlines when Last of Us 2 came out saying it was the fastest selling PS4 game of all time, fastest selling, I think, game of 2020 for the PS4, and all these other sort of titles, and it's being outsold by evergreen Nintendo games. It's amazing.
Yeah, because I think the best-selling PlayStation exclusive, at least on PlayStation 4, it's Uncharted 4, and that's at about 16 million units sold. And like Animal Crossing now, last time we knew it was at about 13 million units sold. So now Animal Crossing has probably outsold every single PlayStation 4 exclusive game, which is just crazy. Like the quality of PlayStation Studios has just been amazing throughout PlayStation 4, and obviously the massive install base. But for the Switch to come out halfway through the PS4's life, and just every single game seems to be just hitting with the audience that buys Switch. Like even stuff like ARMS, it sells a couple of million in the first year type of thing. But then there's like obviously the big ones, which is Breath of the Wild, Smash Bros, Mario Odyssey, and even Animal Crossing has joined that, which is just trucking on so much. And whether that's because of this year's circumstances with everybody looking for stuff to do, a bit of escapism, which I'm sure is the case, it's just really great to see that this game is just getting so much love. So just on that, we're going to go into some of the new updates to Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing New Horizons Wave 2 update is coming July 30th. So I guess what's the date? So yeah, the day this comes out. No, it's already
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's already, I think that's 30th as in the US. So not sure, but it's probably it's probably out when you're listening to this.
Or the next day, because if you put this up on the 30th. It will be the 29th we'll go with you.
Yeah, it's probably out when you're listening to this. So Animal Crossing's New Horizons for Nintendo Switch will receive a hefty update soon, bringing some more summer fun to the incredibly popular title. Fireworks, save data backups, and dreams will breathe some more life into the title, with festivities kicking off from the 30th of July. You can check out what's coming in the press release from Nintendo below. There's a video beneath that. You can't see the video. We're doing a podcast here. So there's you can do your own sort of custom fireworks show, which is pretty cool. One of the biggest features I've seen is basically dreaming. So from the press release, it says you can now choose to take a nap in any bed placed in your home. While dozing off, you may find yourself in a strange realm where you're greeted by Luna. Luna offers visitors to other islands as a dream, and with her help, you can share your island as a dream with others too. She will grant those who share their island a dream address, which players can exchange and use to visit each other's island in a dream. In dreams, nothing is permanent because nothing you do is saved, so explore at your heart's content. And this is a feature a lot of people have been looking forward to on the 3DS Animal Crossing. You could do Street Pass and share your homes with one another, but now it seems like you can actually share your whole island, which is awesome. It's a feature I see a lot of people are really excited about when this update came out. And I guess one of the biggest talking points is we finally got the island backup and restoration service that we've been, I guess, Nintendo's been talking about since launch. So I'll read the press release of this, and this is what we'll talk about because this is kind of a bit of a head scratcher. It's one of as far as online services go, Nintendo's always just makes us scratch our head going, what the hell are they doing? So the press release reads, Nintendo Switch Online members can enable the new Island service, backup service, which automatically uploads Island and uses save data to an internet at certain times. If your Nintendo Switch system is lost or damaged, you may be able to recover your Island paradise as long as you have enabled Island backup. In the event of loss or damage, contact Nintendo customer service about restoring the island and save data on your new or repaired Nintendo Switch system. After your island data and individual player data is restored, you can get back to building your island community. Additional details can be found at the customer service, blah, 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 blah. The island backup feature is separate from save data cloud functionality offered for select Nintendo Switch games through Nintendo Switch Online, a function specific to Animal Crossing New Horizons to move users and save data to another system is planned for later this year. More details will be announced in the future. So if you lose your Switch or whatever the case is, you actually have to contact Nintendo to restore your save data, which is just baffling. They really don't want you to duplicate.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
They really don't want you to duplicate your save data, even though hackers and cheaters have already ripped this game a new one as far as duplicating items and just everything you could think of. So them doing this really isn't saving much. If you could duplicate your save file, it might make things a bit easier for some people, but it's already happening. So just having it be a pain in the ass is just really annoying. Could you imagine on PlayStation 4, I've lost my Last of Us save data. All right, time to ring Sony so I can download it. It's just no one else would do it except for Nintendo. They've just got these really weird ways. And when you think back to Metroid Other M, there was a glitch in that obviously couldn't be patched on the Wii. So what they did is they got you to save in their save data on an SD card, and they actually manually edited your save data so you could progress in the game. And this is still kind of similar to what's happening there. Obviously, you don't have to send anything in, but you still have to contact customer service and go, all right, I've lost my Switch. Can I please download my save for Animal Crossing? What do you think about all this?
Well, it's like with Skyward Sword. I think there was a game-breaking glitch with Skyward Sword, and because they couldn't patch Nintendo Wii games, you had to go on the Wii shop and download some unique channel that you could then go into the channel and it would somehow do something to your save, update your save file, I think, or update your game so it wouldn't be an issue. It was this really convoluted system that didn't make sense, and I think this is really typical of Nintendo. They really want to I guess for a better lack of the term, they really want to protect their walled garden of, well, this is how Animal Crossing is. You shouldn't manipulate save data. We have to protect the save data, even though that all these hackers, and it's not really a hard thing to do if you really want to. Well, people were time traveling and time skipping from day one. So
Yeah.
like they're not going to play as Nintendo wants you to play. So I think they really need to give that up and just make it easier for people to play the game. But we all know that's not going to happen. It's like with Animal Crossing, people are just crying out for simple quality of life improvements that they just won't implement. Like with your inventory, like with crafting multiple items, you have to keep on pressing the same button over and over again. And it's like the dream update is that you guys you spoke about it, that update, the fake update video those fans put up. Like that's what people want to see out of Animal Crossing.
Yeah. And like when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, that'd be very nice if you could just do the one click and you just craft like 7 shovels. Like, why not? You know, like a lot of other games do that. Like if you go to a shop, you don't have to click buy for each item. So it's kind of like a similar thing.
Buying seeds for flowers and bushes is the most frustrating thing in Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually on the episode today of Blowing Cartridges, you actually mentioned that Animal Crossing never really grabbed you before, but now this one you sort of get it a lot more. So have you kept on playing it since launch, or being just gone in and out of it, or what's your sort of relationship with this new game?
So I played nearly every day for about 2 months. And then when I got into Xenoblade, that was always on my Switch. So I just put it in sleep mode and went back to it. So stopped playing Animal Crossing. And I tried to go back to it after Xenoblade, and it was just like, I'm pretty happy with how my island's looking. I didn't have any friends to visit at the time, so I sort of just switched it off and haven't gone back yet. But I think I'll check it out again due to this update. But I think it will really take a significant update for me to sort of go back to playing it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, because I sort of fell out of it as well, not for any particular reason. I just sort of did. Mainly, I guess, mainly just because like work picked up, and there's a few weekends where I'm like, oh, I've got to get my turnip prices, and I just like completely forgot each time. And like when I sort of fell out of it, I just sort of like got out of that rhythm of doing what I was doing. So I was basically going around every third day, just harvesting all this fruit, doing certain bits of my island, like doing that type of thing. But I guess I also kind of lost motivation because of social media. Social media, like like I said, like with I follow Bobby, Nintendo Guru, and a fair few others, just like super hardcore Animal Crossing people, and just like some of the stuff they're doing, like they'll sit down and they might be out of work for a month or so they're just putting everything into this game and just making some amazing looking things. Bobby on his YouTube channel, he put up an island tour of basically he's going around and someone recreated Disneyland in Animal Crossing. And it's just amazing, like just it's so intricate in every little area. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, I could never do this. And no, to be honest, with Animal Crossing, I prefer it to look more rural and sort of like forest-like. So I don't really want it to look like a big metropolis city or anything. But yeah, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to just have a nice park and all that. But that takes time, and got Paper Mario and other things to do. It's like, I wish I could quit a job or something and like make this a job. That'd be pretty cool. Get some Animal Crossing done. Yeah, because like
and the viewership would skyrocket. So I think that might be a legitimate tactic, Drew.
Yeah, we should just call this podcast
the House of Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it's called Animal Crossing something. Vince, goes up like 1,000 downloads.
The House of Nuke. Let's go.
House of Nuke.
Yeah, I support the House of Nuke.
Oh dear. No, he's not. He's not coming into our house. He's a bad man, that Tom Nook.
Yeah, he'll sell your mic and all your gear and all your furniture before you know it.
He will too. He'll just like give it to someone, like, oh yeah, someone else moved in for like 5,000 bells. I was like, come on, man, what are you doing to me? So yeah, we'll move on to like the last bit of news. This episode is being it's going to be a lengthy one, so sorry about that if you're not in the mood for a lengthy podcast. But you did see how long it was before you clicked on it, so here we are. So Brendan, there's been a ton of Pokemon, or not Pokemon leaks, but just Nintendo leaks in general from hackers in the hackers community. And some really interesting stuff has come out. So I guess just for a bit of background on it, just off the top of my head, I've looked up a fair bit of stuff. I'm just gonna have to say this off the top of my head, but basically in May, all the system information for the Wii was leaked because of the chip manufacturer through IQ. Basically, got leaked through that, and more information is slowly being released. And the first bit of information we got from that is there was a Pokemon MMO supposedly on in the plans on PC and Game Boy Advance. So this article I'm going to be reading from is from Nintendo Enthusiast, and the article reads, the explosion of Nintendo source code leaks has yielded some strange NES prototypes, the existence of Luigi in Super Mario 64, and the alleged plans for a hybrid PC/Game Boy Advance Pokemon MMO from IQ Limited. The Chinese IQ was co-founded by Nintendo and Wei Yen to localize Nintendo products for China. A presentation detailing plans for an online Pokemon project have apparently leaked online. The project would have used features from Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Leaf Green as a foundation. According to the presentation, the Pokemon MMO was aiming to release in July/August 2005, with online and offline play all available via Game Boy Advance. February/March 2006 would have brought an online tournament mode where Game Boy Advance was used for controls, but a PC is used for the display screen. And July/August 2006 would have brought similar functionality, but for capturing Pokemon in a new map. The game would have been playable offline with a maximum of only 36 Pokemon being able to be obtained by players in that case. Strikingly, player regional information and IP address would have affected distribution of Pokemon on the map, as well as affect in-game weather. The effects would even were to extend to Pokemon hatching. Below is example of the presentation with some additional details on IQ's alleged proposed Pokemon MMO. However, there is no evidence to suggest that this project ever went beyond the planning phase. So they got like a few slideshows to sort of just dot points of what this game was to include. So the project baseline was game story will be based on Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green design. Offline play was only available in Game Boy Advance, with the most of the features in current Fire Red Leaf Green. Online play, trade, battle, chat, etc. via an online connection. Extend online tournament to PC screen based on Coliseum mode. Online Pokemon capture and treasure hunt with PC screen and display for Game Boy Advance control. Offline features were map adventure with a story based on Fire Red Leaf Green. Full Pokemon will be released on the first release, but the Pokemon distribution in the map will be different. A trade and battle link cable connection will be supported in offline mode. Offline features that are different to Fire Leaf Green. Disable the hatch system in offline mode. Disable the wireless connection mode in the Union Room. In offline mode, players can only access 36 Pokemon. New Chinese input method. Because back then, they didn't have the Chinese language in the Pokemon games. That only came around in, I think it was X and Y. Was it Sun and Moon? It was one of those games where they expanded the amount of languages in the games. Online features were a region concept, a new hatch system, enhanced Pokemon Center, online tournament mode with PC screen-based Coliseum mode, new maps for Pokemon capture in treasure hunt in online play with PC screen. And I'm going to go down to the bottom of the article. With these leaks, it's important, however, to remember that the developers and publishers have so many plans that ultimately never materialize into a product, and we can't possibly imagine of how many extraordinary ideas like this have been proposed and later tossed over the years. This PC Game Boy Advance Pokemon MMO concept may just be one of those that has actually come to light, so don't get any hard feelings over this particular project never coming to fruition. So, Tam, I know we're a big Pokemon fan in the Game Boy Advance days. How cool would have this been having a Pokemon MMO, especially based off these games, which Fire Red and Leaf Green are all great remakes. They were the first remakes in the mainline Pokemon series, so it would have been pretty cool to get this type of thing. Since it was a project from IQ, it's probably just going to be a Chinese thing, so we would have been very jealous as kids that they got an online version, especially in 2005. That would have blown my mind. But from just like the information I put out there, what do you think of it?
Well, I think in theory it would have been amazing, but well, in practice we never trust Nintendo's netcode, do we? And the Pokemon or Game Freak's netcode have never been particularly good either. So it'd be interesting to have seen how it performed performance-wise. And on that comment you mentioned about only having 36 Pokemon offline, I wonder what the reaction would have been like that, considering what happened over Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I was thinking when I read that, I was thinking
imagine if
chucking a
Pokemon
comment
Sword
in
and Shield only had 36 Pokemon.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's 36 Pokemon, but if you connect online, you get the extra, 300 and so. It's like, that would have been, I don't know. I would say that would have been pretty funny, but me at the time, I was pretty friggin' angry. So I would have been in the same boat as everyone else, be like, what the hell are you doing, Game Freak? Yeah. So it would have been really cool. And there was actually other Pokemon leaks, which don't make a whole lot of sense to go over in this particular podcast because it's all visual. It's all based on the sprites for the games. So I think back in May, we did get sprites for male and female variants of every single Pokemon. And while Diamond and Pearl did introduce those, but originally they were planned to be much more different, each Pokemon. Like for example, Charizard just had like a completely different head. If it's a female, had like a big horn on its head, as opposed to just like the two horns that it has at the moment. So that's the leak we got before. But the leak on the sprites now, we've actually got like completely different sprites for some of the Pokemon and complete different designs. Like for Yarmega looks a lot more fierce. There's Vesper Queen, which looks like a lot more fierce as well. And there's some which are just like, obviously just like rust jobs. Like there's Regigigas, who looks like it was literally painted in Microsoft Paint. Like it's just like, it looks really tacky, as well as Arceus. Arceus looks nothing like it currently does now. It looks like a sad ghost, pretty much. There's like no detail on it whatsoever. So it's really interesting going through that if you're interested in seeing some of the behind the scenes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. These hackers have like really gotten in there and gotten some of the information for some of those games. And I guess just before we go on as well, the way we definitely do not condone the way this information was gotten, but I guess regardless, the information is out there now and it is interesting and it is now a part of Nintendo history. So it is important to sort of talk about it and acknowledge it for what it is, but definitely not a good way of initially getting it. It's kind of like we were talking before we went live. Like it's like going into someone's house and stealing their diary and putting it online. Like it's pretty rough. Nintendo would not be impressed right now with what's going on.
Yes, because it's not just art assets, and I guess it's not just art assets or pictures and slideshows. It's also, there's examples, I think, for Star Fox 2. There's sort of dives deep into the actual code of the games, and you can see the developers' comments that they were sort of in jokes they were making between the team, and sort of, oh, F Pete's code is shit, don't trust it. And just like in jokes like that is purely personal material, but now it's out there after 20, 25 years in the public, and it was never really intended to be anywhere else.
Yeah, because just like code that they just, this wasn't that good, let's just put it to the side. Like that's all public now, stuff that they really didn't want people to see. But yeah, touching on that, there's a ton of information leaked about Super Nintendo games. So this article is from Eurogamer, and it reads, it looks like one of the biggest Nintendo leaks ever has revealed prototypes for some of the company's classic games, including Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Kart, and Star Fox 2. The latest leak appears to relate to the emergence of old Nintendo data earlier in 2020. Videos have hit YouTube showing early prototypes of Super Mario Kart and Yoshi's Island, all compiled from the leaked source. So first up is Yoshi's Island, a prototype with different UI graphics, placeholder music from Mario World, and has a prefix of Super Mario Bros. Then there's a build of Super Mario Kart with no drifting. And Super Mario Kart, it's interesting because there's just like a really broken build of it, and it's got completely different music. like title screen music, which is just complete. This is nothing like the theme that we've come to know and love. Like it's just completely different. I'll see if I can actually get a video of it and play it, but it's interesting nevertheless. So the Star Fox 2 stuff, I'll see if I can find it. Do you know much of the Star Fox 2 stuff off by heart? I know there was a human in sort of like the sprite work, which is just really weird to see. There's like a woman with just like flowing black hair just under Fox McCloud, which obviously in Star Fox, we've never seen humans in those games, have we?
No, it's always been purely anthropomorphic animal characters. So it's quite a detailed sprite. It's of this a black woman with black flowing hair, and it's quite detailed, and it actually in an odd way actually fits the style of all. Well, I guess not odd because it was probably done by the same character designer, but it does fit the designs of like Fox and his friends. So it would have been very interesting if they sort of had a majority of animal cast, but also this sort of a minority character as sort of humans as the minority in this universe. It would have been quite interesting.
Yeah. I'm just, Brendan, you won't be able to hear it, but I'm playing the title screen for the Mario Kart or Super Mario Kart that got leaked. And the listeners will be able to hear it. It just sounds like completely different. So that's enough of that. But yeah, just like the initial Super Mario Kart music, it's like like, you know, it's just like, you know, you get into it like, all right, this is a party game, we're gonna get all into it. But it sounds like something like from Star Road, where it's like, oh, this is, if you booted up the game with that title screen, you're like, oh, this is nice, this is wonderful. This is a nice relaxing time. You almost fall asleep. And there's a build of Yoshi's Island, and it says here that there's a build called Super Donkey that includes a character that observes to have pointed out looks a bit like Stanley from the Bugman from Donkey Kong 3. And it's just like there's this really weird looking character with like a big nose and glasses just going through beta stages of Yoshi's Island, which is just weird. It just looks really strange. So I wonder why they sort of built like a completely different character for, I guess, testing this game as opposed to just using Yoshi.
Yeah, I guess it's like I think there's been a few different games where the test character model is completely different to the final character they choose with. I think Crash Bandicoot Crash Bandicoot's the example. They didn't know they were going to use a Bandicoot until sort of quite far into development when they actually fleshed out the character design.
Oh, right. What were they using before that? Do you know?
I can't remember, but I believe the internal code name of Crash Bandicoot was it like Sonic's ass or Sonic's butt, because it was a sort of the view of Crash Bandicoot, it's a fixed camera looking behind the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they sort of built the idea of, we're doing a platformer where you're running forward into the screen, but I don't think they had a firm character design in mind.
Oh, right. Yeah, I never knew that. Just call it Sonic's ass. They should have just kept that name. That would be a great name. I reckon it would have sold twice as much. But that would have really set PlayStation up to be just like even bigger than it is now, I reckon. Just like, yeah. Remember that game, Sonic's Ass? Oh, fuck, that was a good game. So much nostalgia for Sonic's Ass. And I guess moving on to Nintendo 64 stuff. So everybody, most people would have seen that Luigi was found in the code for Super Mario 64. And while he wasn't playable in the code that they found, a lot of people have like gone in and recreated Luigi in Mario 64 with the same assets. So, and Brendan, you brought up before we started recording too that Miyamoto did bring up that they did want to include Luigi in this game before launch, but obviously didn't make it into the full game. But the idea was there, and there was a sort of a model template made up for Mario 64. And also there was some different looking enemies in there. So instead of the bullies, there was I don't know what you'd call it. This looks like kind of a bob-omb with like claw hands and like a little weird head. Weird looking enemy. And there's a video here of Mario going and picking one up in Bob-omb Battlefield. So I don't know if like they're the replacement for like the pink Bob-ombs in Bob-omb Battlefield. I'm not quite sure. Or if they're a replacement for like the bullies in some of like the later lava levels. I'm not quite sure what they are. But regardless, they're nothing because they were taken out, I guess. But yeah. And we're also given like high res art for Mario 64, which looks really nice. It's actually pretty cool that we're getting some high res art because I guess it was all in for magazines and everything back then. So we never really got any like high res screens like we have here. So
yeah, and there's high res screens for a lot of 64 games like Super Mario 64, Wave Race, Lilac Wars, and it's really nice art. So definitely worth looking at, I reckon.
Yeah, because I just like love like the box art for Mario 64 with Mario with his arms out, with the wing cap on, flying around the castle. I think that's one of the most iconic images of Mario sort of out there, at least for me, because Mario 64 is probably my favorite Mario game. Probably, depending on what day you ask me, it's one of those things. Like, is it Galaxy? Is it Mario World? I don't know. I feel like it's 64 today. Maybe if you ask me tomorrow, it would be Mario World. I'm not sure. But yeah, apart from that, it's just like it's got different models of like the penguin. As we know, got to take the baby back to get the power star, and there's actually sort of like a layout of Hyrule Town, which is. I'm not sure if that's from Mario Kart 64, but I think Mario 64 there were sort of levels discovered that they were planning to do sort of a more of a like a Zelda themed course in that, which would have been pretty cool. And it's only in Mario Kart 8 where we've actually got a Hyrule castle level in that. And apart from that, we've got some like really nice screens of Hyrule Castle, which look really, really awesome, especially for the time in early 2000s. Looks like something that would be running on the GameCube more than Nintendo 64, but just the layout of everything. And we've got some like unused dungeons from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which is really cool. Got some stuff from Animal Crossing 64, which is in English. So that game never came to English. It was only released on... Was it just Nintendo 64 DD? Is that where the Japanese version came out on, or was it just normal Nintendo 64? Do you know off by heart?
Yeah, I believe it was planned for Nintendo 64 DD, but like a lot of games, like Majora's Masks and the like, it became just a cartridge release in the end, and I think it was sort of quite a late 64 release, sort of 2000, 2001.
Yeah. So they're obviously planning on maybe bringing that game out with a bit of English translation. And they've got some items from Mario Kart 64, and there's some items that weren't actually in the game. So there's what's here? So the feather I'm actually a bit rusty on Mario Kart 64. The feather was only in Super Mario Kart on SNES. There's an item here as well, which is a 10-ton weight.
Yeah.
The mushrooms. Was it just the one mushroom and the 3 mushrooms, or was there different intervals? Because here it's got 1 mushroom, you can get 2 mushrooms, you can get 3 mushrooms. Was it like that? I can't remember in Mario 64. It's been a long time.
You could get 1 and 3. I don't think you could get a double, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'm still not sure. So if you can't get a double in that game, there initially was meant to be a double. And there's also like some like stones here too. I've got no idea what they do. And there's a Yoshi egg as well, which I don't believe was in Mario 64. I can't remember that either. There was no Yoshi egg, no. Then there's high res screens of Wave Race. Yeah, go on, sorry.
They aren't, but some of those stones kind of look like the stones from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, they could be. And I don't know, was there any of those... They're not from Mario RPG, are they, by chance as well? Can't quite remember that either. It's been a long time since I played some of these games.
Never played it, unfortunately. So
yeah, it's been a long time since I played it too. It's been a few years since I played it on emulator. Um, so yeah, Wave Race, there's stuff for Star Fox 64, just different logos with like the 64 logo in different places. Stuff for F-Zero. There's like the Wii prototype pictures where it's like stuff hooked up to GameCube controllers. Yoshi in Mario World looks absolutely frightening. just looks really like lanky and like more like a dinosaur. Stuff for Bowser, like there's just tons of stuff. I really do recommend going and checking it out. It's just interesting stuff, and even when we release this, there might be more stuff. Stuff's just been trickled out as time goes on. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. I reckon my favorite stuff would be the Pokemon stuff, just because it's like, you know, we've wanted a Pokemon MMO for as long as the series has been happening. So the idea that at least the Chinese IQ was actually thinking about it, so it's kind of cool. So maybe we'll get one day. Who knows? With how much money just all these different Pokemon games are making, I think an MMO would just be obvious, just as far as like subscriptions, microtransactions, you know, all the stuff the Pokemon company loves. So it is kind of weird that they aren't doing it.
Oh, they gotta release their mobile games that only last a year or two, Drew. That's their true money maker.
Yeah. And I didn't actually bring it up, but Pokemon Unite, it's actually had a fair few screenshots leak as well. So whether that means that Media's got it and it's, you know, it's going to come into beta or release soon, that's something else as well. So that's something I've got to look out for this year. I mean, I'm kind of keen to check it out, but I'm not really that excited. Does a Pokemon MOBA get you excited?
Not particularly. I've dabbled with League of Legends, but I think that's sort of the extent of my MOBA days.
Yeah. Because like Bryce and a fair few of my mates are like, they were really into League of Legends. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll give it a go. I made an account, went over to Bryce's place with a few other friends, opened up my laptop, and I'm like clicking around, and like they're like, oh yeah, they're telling me how to play and all that. I'm just like clicking around. I'm like, oh, and like we won and we lost and whatever. I'm just like, got no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, I think I've had enough. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Makes me feel like a noob. I guess because I was. That is the actual description of a noob.
Yeah, it's hard to come to the realization that you might game for 10, 20 years, but there's still some genres and still some game types that you have no clue how to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I actually quite like Game Pass on Xbox, because like seeing stuff like Age of Empires, like I never really played like super PC centric games necessarily. When I had a PC, I played like The Simpsons Hit and Run and just like stuff you could play on GameCube. So when I had Game Pass, I'll tell you what, I'm going to just download it because you can. So I gave it a go and actually quite enjoyed it. So yeah, it's good for sort of opening your horizons a bit, expanding your horizons, let's say, because you don't have to spend money. Yeah. So I guess that's the end of the news. It's been a long show, but would you like to jump into Reggie's Rec Room for a bit before you leave, or do you have to go to bed or something?
I've come all this way, Drew. I think I need to experience Reggie's Rec Room at least once.
All right, so let's step in the Reggie's Rec Room. He's a nice man. He's a very nice man.
Hi, Nintendo fans.
Hello.
Reggie here.
Hello.
Thank you for your never-ending support, for giving me a mushroom kingdom full of incredible memories that I will never forget. Ever.
All right, Brendan. Welcome to Reggie's Rec Room. What do you think of the place? Like, Reggie, he's been quite busy over quarantine. He's just, you know, he's been drinking a bit. He really enjoys the furfies, but apart from that, he's keeping the place pretty clean. What do you reckon of the place?
Yeah, it's really cozy. I love the paint job behind the bar, and
it's awesome.
I must say it's a total honor to finally meet Reggie. It's really good.
Yeah. I mean, he's really quiet. Like, you know, he says the initial message, then he just goes straight back to listening to his iPod Touch. Like, he really loves that thing. I don't know why he's
Yeah, but he's doing.
Yes. What do you think? What do you think of Reggie's iPod Touch? Like, he puts all his music onto his iPod. I don't understand why he doesn't just put it onto his phone. It's just it's a bit backwards that way, but it is what it is, I guess.
if it works for you, it works for you. And he's doing a very good job cleaning those glasses. So I think we should give him respect for that.
Absolutely. So before the show, I never actually thought of a topic to talk about. So I guess we have to sort of brainstorm something on the spot. And we're talking, I guess, with what you were talking about in episode 2, just sort of your gaming journey. We touched on it sort of at the start when you introduced yourself, but what's one of the consoles that introduced you and really, really motivated you to become a gamer and sort of make it into your hobby that you still enjoy today?
I'm gonna have to say it's the Nintendo GameCube, because I lost so many hours in afternoons after school, growing up, friends over, going to friends' places and just playing all those great multiplayer Nintendo GameCube games like, Double Dash, Melee, Kirby's Air Ride, the Mario Party games, even other games like the 007, Agent Under Fire, Nightfire multiplayer games. I know everyone generally goes back to the 64 saying that was sort of the pinnacle of couch 4-player local multiplayer, but I really think the GameCube had some fantastic games that really pushed what you could do with 4 players. And I didn't have it growing up. I got it later in life, but even games like Pac-Man Versus and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures really pushed that multiplayer aspect. And I think, as I've always talked about, I think an important part of gaming for me is that social aspect. And I think that really illuminated that you play games not to just, I guess, to achieve something, completing that game on your own time, but it's something you can share with other people, share with your friends.
Yeah, for sure. And when you talk about the GameCube, it's always such a soft point in like my gaming, because I really wanted the GameCube. I got brought up on the Game Boy Advance, and obviously with the GameCube just alongside it with Pokemon and Mario and Zelda and the games I was interested to play, I really wanted one. And the more I think about it when I was growing up, like even the last few years, it actually hurts more now. Because I've told the story before, but I wanted the GameCube for Christmas. Mum went to Game Traders and said, "Oi, a person who works at this store, tell me about the Nintendo GameCube. My son wants one." And he must have said, "Oi, no, don't get a GameCube. They suck. Get a PlayStation 2. So Mum comes back to me and says, "Hey, the guy at the store said, GameCubes aren't very good. So do you want a PlayStation?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm all right. All my friends have one, so I just go to their place and play Grand Theft Auto, and I'm not that interested in getting one myself necessarily." And I think back to it. So first of all, I think, why didn't I say, no, mum, I don't want a GameCube. Adam's got a GameCube, Jordan's got a GameCube, not a GameCube, a PlayStation. And I want to play Pokemon, I want to play Mario. That's what I want to play. They're only on that, so I'd like a GameCube, thank you very much. And she might have said, "Oh, well, fantastic. That's fair enough. I'll go and get a GameCube." But I sort of just rolled over and said, "Oh, no, it's all right. I don't want either. It's all right." And just like, could you imagine going to a shop now and the guy's like, "Hey, this console that the kid wants, that's shit. Don't get that." It's like someone going to a shop saying, "Hey, I want to get an Xbox for my son. He wants to play Halo 5." And the guy just goes, "Oh, don't get an Xbox. Get a PlayStation. They're much better." But PlayStation doesn't play Halo or the games that he wants to play. So it's like, yeah, just thinking about that. Like, I could have had a GameCube with like a decent little collection. And it's just like, it makes me go, "Oh, damn it. I hate that guy. I'm going to track him down and I'm going to wave my finger in his nose and go, oi, because of you, I didn't get my own copy of Mario Sunshine. I had to get a secondhand copy 15 years later." And that's devastating.
Yeah. It reminds me of those salespeople working at your EB Games and the like that I always felt sorry for around the Wii U era, when a mum would come in and say, "Oh yeah, I want to get the new Wii for my little boy Jimmy," and the guy's like, "Do you want a Wii or a Wii U?" I don't think you want either. It's 2015. I don't think you want either. But like, here are your options.
Yeah.
And I remember them having to explain to this father sort of like 5 different ways that, no, you can't play Wii U games on a Wii.
Yeah.
And this is why.
It's like, why not? Because, I don't know, the different systems. But you could see someone in like in 2014, where it's like, all right, should I get a PlayStation 4 or should I get a Wii U? And as someone who's making like an actual recommendation of what you think the kid might enjoy or the young adult or whoever they're buying it for, it would be hard to recommend a Wii U over a PlayStation 4 because the PlayStation 4, obviously a lot better life cycle, a lot more games just from third party. They supported it really well with their first party studios. But if like in my situation, if that person wanted to play Mario or the remake of Wind Waker or Smash Bros or Mario Kart, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter how weird that hardware is or how poorly put together some of the components were, because you want to play Mario Kart. So that's the only place you're going to play it. As good as the PlayStation 4 is, It doesn't matter. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a hard spot for me. Whenever anyone brings up the GameCube, like, oh yeah, like for like Jamie, he's a big fan of Metroid Prime, and he's always talking about it. Like, it's as easy as just go back to that. I'm always like, playing through Paper Mario, then the next thing will come out, and then I've got to play Animal Crossing, and I'm playing some indie stuff on my Switch. I never have like enough motivation and just time to put aside to go, all right, I've got to smash out the GameCube games. And maybe that's just something I've got to sort of work over the next year or so just to get back to each game when I can and get through some of them. Because there were some fantastic titles on the GameCube. Like, it's kind of similar to the Wii where the library was limited, especially as each game is coming out and when you're actually amongst it. But when you look back on it, it's like there's a nice handful of games where it's like, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, Mario Sunshine, Smash Bros. Melee, the Metroid, the two Metroid Prime games. Like there's plenty there to be like, right, this was a good library for a good system. Even though when we did episode 150, I said that GameCube probably be the one I'll get rid of. But it's a hard ask with the Nintendo platforms because I like all of them. Even the Wii U. I put a lot of shit on the Wii U but when you love something, you've got to put shit on them when they fuck up.
Well, exactly. You have to recognize the flaws. It's like we can all recognize that the Switch, as successful as it is, there's still some poor design decisions and mistakes they made with the Switch. That's by no means a perfect console. You just have to look at the Joy-Con drift and all those issues. So there's never going to be perfection. And I 100% agree with you. Each Nintendo platform has a strong game library. Like maybe some will have a larger, strong game library than others, but even the Wii U, I can think of 5 games off the top of my head that are sort of must-plays. Your 3D World, Splatoon, like Super Mario Maker, really unique experiences that took advantage of the system, and you couldn't have had it otherwise.
Yeah. How do you feel about them sort of bringing all the ports to Switch and going back to Wii U sort of almost redundant? Like, there's still a few games. There's Pikmin 3. There's what else is there? There's Mario 3D World, which will be coming to Switch eventually, so you can just mark that one off now, I guess. But there's actually like a very limited amount of titles on Wii U left to actually say, all right, I'm going to leave my Wii U hooked up, because you're not leaving it hooked up for Miiverse anymore. That's gone. Like you can't go in there and see what the 12-year-olds are discovering in Super Metroid when like you can't crawl, for example, and they're just like baffled why Metroid can't crawl. Yeah.
I guess you're going back for those multiplayer experiences, and those experiences that can only be played on the Wii U. Like Nintendo Land was amazing. Even Mario Party 10 had some fun moments in the asynchronous multiplayer where one player is Bowser. Well, there's games like, I'd argue Mario Maker is better on the Wii U because of the gamepad. And then you have games like Xenoblade Chronicles X that still haven't been brought over and might not. So I guess there's less of a reason to go back. But like I said on episode 150, it's similar to how many reasons are there for me to go buy an original Super Nintendo and then start collecting cartridges for it when I can get a Super Nintendo Mini, I can go on a virtual console on Wii U, I can go on Nintendo Online and play Super Nintendo games. Like, and play most of the major ones. There's not really any reason for me to go back to original hardware Super Nintendo. But does that mean it's a bad console? Not really. No, not at all.
Yeah. I guess like if you can get like the actual like Super Nintendo controller to work on like that platform as well, like the Switch, you can play like a lot of the major Super Nintendo games. You can actually order the wireless Super Nintendo controller from Nintendo, and I've actually got an 8-bit DOE one, which is pretty much exactly the same. So you can actually play with those controls and the nice big D-pad as well. So going back to, but like as yourself, you're a collector, so you should be the one which is like, oh yes, I've got to get every manual, every box, have it on my shelf, and just look at it and go, very nice, then move on with your life.
Yep, that's why I avoid buying an original Super Nintendo, because I know I would fall into that trap of, well, every game I buy has to ideally at least have a box, hopefully the manual as well, and I go from there.
Yeah, so that's a hard thing.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, because I remember my my copy of Pokemon Sapphire. I've still got the box. That was the first, like major game I got, apart from like stuff on PC. But I kept the box, the instruction manual. I like preserved that thing in like my cupboard beside my bed. Like I made sure it didn't get squashed, it didn't get creased or anything. I really looked after it. I was talking to another friend who got their Game Boy Advance at Christmas as well with a copy of Pokemon Sapphire. We were talking, and he said if he chucked out his box. I'm like, and I was just like, oh, how can you do that? He's like, oh, I don't give a shit. It's just the box. I got the game. But like, it was just so baffling to me. So it's always been in my DNA to sort of like preserve the boxes and everything about the game. So it's always been in me.
Yeah, my mum has been the visionary from the start when it came to Lego video games. She was always like, oh no, you need to keep the boxes. Like you need to keep the boxes, sort of just this irrational sort of, yeah, one day it might be sort of some value. So now my brother and I can go back, and nearly every 64 game we have still has the manual and box.
Yeah.
The Game Boy, GBA, still have all these complete games that are worth quite a bit now. So it's just, I guess. But then I know people as well that just chucked out manuals, chucked out, a Game Boy Advance box. That's cardboard. You recycle cardboard, right? Yeah.
Oh, no.
Off it goes.
Ooh, that's sad. Because I was a kid. I was subscribed to this magazine. It was a Rugrats magazine. It was called Rugrats Around the World. And every week it would be based on a different country. So it was just a kids magazine with stickers, and there was a coloring in bit in the middle. And I was so like caught up in just keeping it as pristine as possible. I put it in the folder. I never used the stickers. I never colored in the coloring in sheet. I just kept it pristine. And my mum was like, Drew, if you don't use the stickers, I'm not subscribing to this magazine anymore because you're just wasting it. So I'm like, all right. So begrudgingly, I took off the stickers. I put them where they needed to go, type of thing. And I never did. I never did the coloring in, but I just like, that's the type of kid I was. I was just like, I got to keep it pristine. Got to keep my boxes in the cupboard so they don't get flattened. And it's hard to think about other kids my age when they're just like, oh, just flatten the box, chuck it out, fuck it, who gives a shit. And I'm happy I've still got all my boxes. It's really cool, especially like you can go out and rebuy them, I guess, but actually having the one you had as a kid on the display piece is really neat.
Well, exactly. And for me, there's something about box art that is part of the experience of playing a game, because for a lot of the games I bought when I was growing up, I can remember going down to the ED Games or the Games Wizard was the shop in my local town, or whatever game shop I went to. The Games Wizards was this small sort of, it was a chain at one point. I think they were mainly Victoria and New South Wales, but there was a few of them around. But anyway, I just remembered going in and sort of getting the game, like seeing it on the shelf and picking it off and looking at the back and, oh, this is a game I want to get this time. I'm able to buy a game. Let's try it out. And so being able to pick out a game out of my collection and look at the box art and remember that moment is quite powerful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember going into a local video game shop, and at this stage, I pretty much had just been playing Pokemon. I think I had a Digimon game, which is, it's just like I was obsessed with Digimon, Pokemon, like those types of monster games. And I remember thinking to myself, all right, I've got a Nintendo platform, which was the Game Boy Advance. I need to play a Mario game. So I went into the shop, and there was a copy of Mario World, and it was $80. And this was $80 back in 2004 or say. Like, that's a lot of money. Like for a kid, this is like my allowance for like a very long time. So I spent $80 on Mario World, And like games like that, when you spend a lot of money as a kid, but they were 100% worth it. Like Mario World is worth $80, especially back when it was only like, a few years old type of thing. And like that was my first Mario game. Really enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it and thinking about it. So I guess that's sort of where my passion of like collecting the handheld games comes from, just like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy and all that. So like I said before, they're the platforms I like to collect for. But do you have any particular platforms you like really enjoy collecting for? Whether it's like the consoles or maybe one of the handhelds?
I guess over time, my collection habits have changed. So at one point, I was collecting a lot of games. At one point, sort of towards the end of the Wii U life, towards the end of the 3DS lifespan, I thought, this is the time to collect games for this console because after this period, they're going to sort of start rising in price. So I started collecting the games. I thought, one day I want to try this game. So I have about nearly 50, 60 3DS games, quite a lot of Wii U games, a lot of games I haven't even touched, but they're there when I want to get to them. But I guess when it comes to collecting older games, it's very much, I actually have an Excel spreadsheet that has every game I own. And one of the tabs in that spreadsheet is sort of a wish list. And I sort of note down games that I want to get at some point. And sort of I have eBay searches saved and I'll sort of always be on the lookout for a certain group of games and I'll try to get the ones I want to try or the ones I want to add to my collection because otherwise I just find it's far too expensive and difficult to sort of go the whole way of, I want to get every game that was released for this console. Like I picked up a Sega Saturn in 2013 and I never played Sega Saturn before. Never saw one when I was growing up. It was just I had an interest in Panzer Dragoon because I love Star Fox and also shmups, vertical scrolling shooters, and that's the console for them. And 2013 was actually a good point to start buying Saturn games. They were still relatively cheap. So I was getting games sort of from Hungary, from Europe for like really reasonable prices.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
And it was all, and sort of like my parents were sort of getting worried about like, why every week are there's these strange packages coming from all across the world, Brendan? What's going on? But sort of now that sort of a lot of, after 2013, as you know yourself, a lot of YouTube sort of had a boom in video game related channels and sort of, or retro based channels of, these are the hidden gems for the Nintendo GameCube, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1. Now a lot of those games have sort of quadrupled, like tripled in price, and it's a lot more inhibitive to buy games that you might, like, you just want to try. So I find that you have to be very selective in, this is a game I really want. Otherwise, if you're casting out the net really wide, you're going to quickly be overwhelmed by, this is a good deal for this game. It's an obscure game I've never heard of, but I might as well buy it and see what it's like. I don't do that as much anymore.
Yeah, you got to be a bit more, I guess responsible with your money. I try to keep that in mind. Like sometimes it's easy. Sometimes like, I don't need the Lego, but I definitely need the recreation of the premium Game Boy. Definitely need that in my life. So we all have different. We definitely have poisons in our life, which we can't go without. Yeah,
you've literally convinced me to buy that Game Boy. I think I'm actually going to do it now, Drew. So my bank account blames you, mate.
I'm so sorry. Well, maybe you'll have to like sell your Switch or something, you know.
Imagine if I sold my Switch and my entire collection to get. I need to get this retro Game Boy and like 5 games.
Yeah, be awesome. Yeah. So I don't think you actually answered the question. I did enjoy the tangent you went on, but is there a platform you do prefer to collect for, or would you say just like you just sort of like dabbling in little bits?
Yeah, I think it's sort of dabbling in little bits, and though I think part of me does. I have a thing for the Nintendo 64 because that was the console I grew up watching my brother play and get games for. Yeah, I never did because my first console was the GameCube, but there's just something about the packaging for 64 games I like. Yeah, definitely. I guess I'm the total collector of wanting something like sealed. Well, not sealed, but sort of in box, the box in a relatively good condition with the manual and the tray. And there's something with that configuration that's quite satisfying, I find.
Yeah.
Even it's flimsy as hell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because the boxes, like, yeah, I've got a few Nintendo 64 boxes, and they're just like, all right, very careful with them. And like in a few, like, I don't know how many years it will be, like 20 years, 30 years, they're just going to be like dust trying to keep them on your shelf. But even just like loose cartridges, I find them fun, just even lining them up on the shelf. I think they look quite good too. Even obviously, you got the few cartridges that are different colors, whether it's like the Ocarina of Time gold cartridge or even Game Boy Advance and the Pokemon games with the different colors. I think that's pretty cool too. Unlike, with like Switch games and even PlayStation 4 games and that, it's kind of lost its appeal as far as like getting the physical copy, just because there's no instruction book and it's just not as premium a package as it used to be. But yeah.
No, but there's definitely a thrill of collecting, and in the Heroes of Play Another Castle Discord chat, there's a guy called Freak who used to post on Another Castle, and he's going for the full Nintendo 64 Power collection, and he's about 5 games off now.
Really? Wow. Yeah,
like he's near the end. Yeah, like he's been doing it over the last nearly since he's been posting on Another Castle, so it's probably 6-7 years, and just watching in the Discord chat, he'll always post his new acquisitions, and it's just been a fantastic journey watching him go over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, sort of every week or two, getting a new game and saying, "Oh, this is what I got. Like, this is how much I paid." And then also, like, the last few days, he's been talking about he sort of stumbled across this sort of community of fellow collectors, and they'll sort of they have like a network of like, "Oh, I need to find this Super Nintendo game. Like, oh, I know this guy in like this country that collects Super Nintendo games. He might have a copy or know where to get one." And it's sort of this underground sort of secret network of collectors, and it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, because I've found like a fair few YouTube channels where it's like Metal Jesus Rocks and stuff, where I'm just like fascinated, whether it's like stuff I like know and care about, like, Nintendo stuff, or it goes into detail about Sega stuff and old like PC engine games, and that's just all fascinating. Just really enjoy it. And now that you say it, I actually remember him posting in Aussie Nintendo back in the day. I remember like going to that thread and actually like looking through the pictures and just enjoying seeing what people pick up. It's real fun. I reckon it's a real fun aspect of gaming, just seeing what you can pick up from random sales and see if you get different prices and that. And I remember I got a Super Nintendo from a secondhand place. I forgot how much it was. It was like $60, and it was like one of the special editions in a box. Everything had 2 controllers. Came with a couple of games that were just loose. It was, what was it? It was one of the, I think it was Donkey Kong Country 2, Lion King. I forgot the name of the other one. I can picture it, but I can't remember the name of it. And I posted it on another, not Another Castle, but Aussie Nintendo back in the day. And I remember Gook especially. He was like, "Wow, holy shit, how did you get this? This is like $300 worth of value." And I got it for like $60, $70. And that made me feel real good. I'm like, yeah. Because when I saw it, I'm like, holy shit, this is a Super Nintendo in box. And it wasn't even that expensive. So I just went back straight away and bought it. That was when I was at school. I think I went and got it at lunchtime or something. Just went for a walk and got it.
I actually remember you posting about that actually.
I did, yeah.
Like, oh, that's a blast from the past. Yeah.
Yeah. I really do like miss that forum. I absolutely loved going on Aussie Nintendo back in the day and posting. And it was funny because when I first joined, I would have been real young. Because actually, how are you roughly my age, or are you a bit older? Because I'm 26. How old are you?
25, so roughly the same.
All right. So you're younger than me, right? Yeah, because I remember like going on there, and I guess like my English and grammar and all of that was just like not that great. I was young and naive. That was the first forum I'd ever been on, and everybody thought I was a troll. And I remember like people like suspecting that, and I'm just like, no, I'm not. And people didn't believe me until I hung around for like another few months. And like, oh no, this guy's legit. He's just young and a bit naive. And eventually I grew and I become a bit of a familiar face in the community. And yeah, I that was the first forum that I really got engaged with and enjoyed. Because I actually used Aussie Nintendo for news before I actually joined it. I actually went there every day and like checked the news and everything, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I did the same as well. Sort of, I eased my way in.
Yeah. What are some of your memories from like early Aussie Nintendo? Because I guess for people that don't know what Aussie Nintendo is, it was just an online Nintendo community here in Australia with a forum and like a news blog type of thing. And I remember people like Vooks and Aussie Nintendo sort of had like a little rivalry going on. I don't know how intense that was, or whether it was just pretend or whatever. I didn't really get into it. I didn't even know much about Vooks until Aussie Nintendo sort of disappeared, and obviously now Vooks is quite big with Nintendo coverage in Australia. So yeah, thinking back on that, it's actually pretty funny as well.
Yeah, because I just remember the personalities, the competitions. It was just a really great sense of community in that forum, and it was just a really, I guess, friendly and fun. Like, of course, there was drama and different things going on. There always is going to be when there's a community of people, but it was just a really good community to be a part of, and there's a lot of in jokes that you could quickly pick up on, and it was a fun place to sort of go on every afternoon, or how often you went on and just saw what people were talking about and participate in. Because I didn't join until sort of, I think, 2010. Yeah, it would have been about 2010.
I was roughly the same, I think.
Towards the end.
Yeah. I remember waking up early to check out E3 coverage for 2011 when Kid Icarus and the 3DS and all that were...
Yeah.
No, that was 2010. That was that year. When like Kid Icarus and the 3DS and all that was shown off. And I woke up to check all that out on Aussie Nintendo. And just really great memories for that side. I really... it's a shame that like for me, what killed it for me was just like Facebook and like social media. It was just so much easier to talk to people. You got notifications when you got like replies, and it just instantly pops up, and the forums just technically couldn't stand up to that. You had to like refresh it, and there's a bit more to leave a post than that. I think that's what ultimately sort of killed it. And it's good that the community is still in the Discord and all that. I need to go in there more often and catch up with everyone, because it is like a great little community.
Yeah, there's a good group of sort of about 10 to 15 people that will be in there sort of every day. And you get some people that drop in and out sort of a bit more infrequently, but there's a lot of your good old regulars in there.
Yeah, because that's under your moniker, the Heroes of Play, isn't it? The Discord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of Heroes of... I think it's Another Castle and Heroes of Play is the title of the Discord channel these days. It's sort of the amalgamation of the two. Yeah. Since Heroes of Play didn't have a forum, or doesn't have a forum, it's still technically going.
Yeah, it's all the same people, all the same community, so lump them in together. Yeah.
Well, precisely.
Yeah. All right, well, Tam, I better not keep you too much more. We're coming up to 2.5 hours. Thank you so much for coming on the show, especially for this long. I know it's a long time.
No, thank you for inviting me onto the House of Mario. I know I've been on occasionally in cameo roles, but I've really enjoyed talking to you about what's going on in Nintendo news and just what we're playing and that sort of thing. It's been quite a good 2.5 hours, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you're more than welcome to come on again, whether it's in a few months or whenever. Like the thing is with like guests, like every week it's kind of like, oh shit, it's Monday, it's time to record to get up for Tuesday. Bryce, you coming over? He's like, oh yeah, I'm coming over, and we sort of just get it together sort of in the last few hours. So when it comes to guests, that usually takes a bit more time to organise. But even for you, I reached out in the morning, you said yep, and we're on at night. So I guess it's not that hard either to get guests on. So yeah, it's cool. So everybody,
if you ever sorry, I was just going to say, if you ever need a last minute fill in for Bryce, give me a call. I'm generally free.
Awesome. I will take you up on that offer, my friend. So everybody, thank you very much for listening to the House of Mario episode 152. Tam, tell us everything you're doing, your social medias, your podcast, where can people find it? Everything he says, it will be on the show notes, so be nice and easy to find.
Yeah, so most importantly, if you're interested, check out Blowing Cartridges. You can find us on Twitter at @blowpod. @blowpod. We're on Apple Podcasts. I was about to say iTunes, Dan. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Podbean. We're on most sort of podcast services that you can download. if you want to follow me personally, I'm at Tamazoid.
Excellent. Yeah. And I said it even this episode, I always say iTunes. It changed a long time ago. It's just to Apple Podcasts, but it's just so hard to get that name out of my head. Like every time I say it, I'm like, oh, damn it. No, well, keep rolling. So as far as sorry, Tam.
No, I was going to say, like when I go to sort of check the podcast uploads on the podcast app, like the Podcast Connect like URL you check, I always type in sort of iTunes podcast, and I realize, it's not called that anymore.
It's like, oh shit, whoops, backspace. Yeah. So if you'd like to follow me or the show, you can follow myself at iDruby. You can follow the show at the House of Mario. And even though Bryce was here, you can still follow him at IV Revan. You still give him a follow. Cheeky little boy. Couldn't make it. He had a busy week this week, so he wasn't able to make it. He's going away with the family on the weekend, and he had some things to organise. At least that's what he told me. He might be sitting at home just doing backflips, scratching his head, just going, Ugh. But I'll take the word for it. His word for it, but he's not doing that. So, this week's Nintendo Jukebox is File Select by Video Game Jazz Orchestra. And the File Select music from Super Mario 64 is one of my favourite Nintendo tracks ever. Hence why I got a remix of it for the initial intro for the House of Mario. So, there it is. So, everybody, until next week, the doors to the House of Mario are closed. Catch you later.
See ya.